Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome all. Welcome, Arvanauts and everyone across the internets. Welcome all to day 38 of this game, Adventures in Middle-earth, Erebor Adventures, Sleeping Dragons Lie, as we continue to move forward through this campaign. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you folks have had a pleasant weekend. I had an enjoyable, fairly relaxing holiday weekend with the family and just sort of chilling out and having a good time and checking out some history and all that kind of good stuff. And now I am back and we are ready to go with some Adventures in Middle-earth action, and then we will have some Talisman adventures later today. But before I get to any of that, just a couple of reminders about ways to support us here on the channel. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to follow us on the channel. Please check out our YouTube channel, !ArvTube, and we're really pushing the YouTube here because we are closing in on that 1,000 sub goal, folks. Last week, during our 10-year streamiversary, last week I actually talked about the idea that we really wanted to get to that 1,000 subscribers. We had 821 at that time, and thanks to the incredible work of a number of people who have been kind enough to sub, and a number of people who've been kind enough to push this, including a number of the people with Athos Arts and associated with Athos Arts, but in particular, Garlic Tofu, who I think is with us, we have moved our way all the way up to 952. So we are now only 48 subs away, everybody, 48 subs away from 1,000, and I am exceedingly excited about that. We are in striking distance. I can see it. I can taste it. We're almost there. And again, that 1,000 sub thing is going to be a big deal for us. Once we get to that number and maintain it for a day or two, then we will be able to monetize the YouTube channel, and it will give us a lot of other opportunities and options. It'll mean that the YouTube algorithm will pick it up. It'll just be good all the way around. And so it is free for you to do that, but it definitely helps us out. So please do subscribe to us over on YouTube if you haven't done so already, where you can find past broadcasts of this and other streams. !ArvCord is our Discord channel where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. !ArvTweets is my Twitter, where I will always post when I'm going live and stuff like that. That's been kind of fun. I've passed the 1,200 barrier. I'm at 1,207 now followers, which is the most I've ever had on Twitter. It only took me 11 years some odd to get to that number, but that's been nice to see slow and steady growth. So please join us over there. !ArvTweets, and the website for this is arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, !ArvShop is our merchandise area where you can get Adventures in Middle-earth swag, and you can also get Infinity and Beyond swag, and soon you'll be able to get Expedition for the Mysterious Peak swag as well. That is coming soon, so definitely make sure to stop by and check that out. !ArvTreon is the Patreon, where we currently have 20 patrons, 201 per month. Really is the backbone, the financial backbone of the channel, and it makes it possible for us to do those cool videos that you just saw and a bunch of other things. So please support us over there. We can also get cool stuff for the channel and for you individually, including inspirations to help our players. Obviously, subbing to the channel is another great thing you can do. That also gives us support. That also gives us financial backing, and it also allows you to get inspirations to help the players, plus those custom sub badges and emotes to use everywhere across Twitch, so that is a good thing too. On the publishing side, Icarus is my Icarus graphic novel, award-winning graphic novel from the incomparable Athos Arts. Library is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, my 5e adventure and sourcebook from the incomparable Alligator Alley Entertainment. And those two companies, incomparable both, Alligator Alley and Athos Arts, will be working together on my Greyshade Kickstarter, Greyshade KS, which is going to be coming out in June. Greyshade, the novel, the first novel, will be coming out on Tuesday, May 31st, which a quick check of the calendar will reveal is 6 weeks away. So in 6 weeks, the official publication date of Greyshade, the novel. That's also when the backer kit preview page for the Kickstarter goes live, and 2 weeks after that, on June 14th, the Kickstarter will go live. That will feature the second two books in the series, Renegade and Heretic. It will feature a new tabletop role-playing game from Alligator Alley and an audiobook from our very own Trendane Sparks, plus a lot of other surprises that we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks. So it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. That's Greyshade KS for details about that. And as always, BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when you need help, and to reach out to others when they need help as well. And last but certainly not least, Ukraine, Ukraine. While we speak to each other right here, there is an existential fight for the soul of a democracy being waged as an autocratic government, an autocratic country attempts to illegitimately invade and destroy and kill a sovereign people. And we are trying to do what we can to resist that in our own way. And that you can do by helping out the millions that have been displaced and affected one way or the other, whether it's refugees or various other links and methods and systems. And that's Ukraine, to be able to help the people involved in that war. Quick note about schedule. We have got Erebor Adventures going on now at 4:15 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. I will be on over on GOG.com's Twitch channel for Pen and Pixels and for the next session of our Talisman Adventures game sponsored by Pegasus Spiele. Very excited for that and very excited to talk a little bit more about that campaign and that system and all that good stuff, as I say, in a few short hours. But right now what we've got before us is the amazing and the incredible and the unbelievable Adventures in Middle-earth crew. So I am unmuting myself and apologizing for whoever I interrupted because we are just about ready to go. And then I'm going to unmute them. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to head over to reveal, as you see before you, everybody but one player. But that other player is going to be back in just a minute. But it's the incredible crew of Adventures in Middle-earth. That's right. They have arrived. We are ready to go. And I am going to start, as per usual, with the gentleman on the top left of your array of squares there. And that, of course, is one Mr. Trendane Sparks. Trend, it's good to see you. How's everything with you? How's the universe and so on treating you? And who are you playing today, sir?
The universe is treating me the way the universe usually treats me, but happy birthday to Tim Curry.
Ah, yes, that's right. I was all year I've been just involved with patient. Thank you. Good man, Tim Curry. Good man. You do not have a birthday today, Trent, but you do. You have been, living your life and all that stuff. Anything new to update us on specifically with audiobooks, etc., or whatever? And who are you playing and all that good stuff?
No. I mean, I'm starting the next BattleTech novel. I would have started it like last week, but I'm not starting a BattleTech novel. I'm starting narrating a new BattleTech novel. I'm starting a new audiobook is what I'm starting. I don't want to make it sound like I write these things. Called Icons of War.
Nice.
And I would have, like I said, I would have started it last week, but I had another job come up and wound up absolutely shredding my vocal cords over the 3 hours that were, and I could not speak for the entire weekend.
Yep.
And so I was like, yikes.
Can confirm, was at a meeting with Trent later where that was the case.
Yeah, it was bad. It was very much like, I guess it was like 2 years, a year, early last year when I went to Berkeley to do some stuff at a voiceover studio up there. And same sort of thing, just shredded and couldn't talk. And then after the weekend, had to go back and do pickups. So it was just barely recorded, and everything was okay. And they're like, okay, now we need to do these again. I'm like, oh God, no.
Just out of curiosity, is that a constant battle?
The losing your voice thing?
To not overstrain.
It depends on what you're doing. If what you have is like, for example, with the Shadowrun thing, if I'm doing a lot of orc voices or whatever, then yeah, that's gonna rip into my cords a lot more than doing elves or whatever, unless it's a particularly nasty elf. Somebody who got a slash across the throat and their vocal cords were damaged.
Well, this dwarf looks like shit.
Right, exactly. You wouldn't have any idea what it's like to have somebody say that to you. Oh, Duncan Wu. Anyway, it can be, and I don't have any mint tea to help soothe. I should have went and bought some. I mean, I knew it was coming, and I didn't go get any. So instead, what I would do is I'd sneak off to the cabinet and just grab the jar of honey and just drink honey out of the jar.
Turn into a grizzly for.
What about fennel tea? Isn't that like way better for throats?
It can be. But that is much harder to find here than mint tea.
Well, you could just buy fresh fennel and turned that into tea.
I could and didn't. Um,
Yeah, I could do that, but I ain't
Among
gonna.
the things I did not do on that day were this.
right, exactly.
Another
but-
thing I did not do was
I also decided to do this, which is another thing I chose to do.
Yeah. But another thing that I'm doing is I am playing this guy whose name is Thane Tonybear, the Hearthmender dwarf friend.
Ooh.
And
We're
he
in for a
is-
good session, people. That was straight on. Good work.
That's because I've been running it in my head
Yeah.
in the background. It's like, okay, talking about my vocal cords thing, Tonybear the Hearthmender. Yeah, I know. And it's like, no, think about it. Run it through. Just anyway.
Think it through.
Think it through. Oh, this is the way. Oh, such a good show. Both of them really.
It is. Agree.
Anyway, now that Amal is back from loafing about this show, what
I'm
I can
loafing
do,
about, yes.
yes, absolutely. What I can do, are we going that way or are we going this way?
I think we're going this way down to
Okay,
the,
well then,
down
next.
to the marvelous.
Yes, this
I can say we were just talking about Brad's choices and about the importance of. Anyway, it was a green room conversation which we will not
all agree
rehearse.
with his choices.
But it is of course our good friend Brad Bollier. Brad, it's good to see you. How's life with you? How's everything going on your end? And who are you playing today, sir?
Things are going good. Just had Easter dinner over here. My sister has an exchange student from Spain, and she's done this a number of times. And once during their stay, I make a meal from their homeland because after they've been here for a while, they're missing it a lot. And I like experiencing other cultures through food. And so I did a Spanish meal with like little tapas and paella.
That must be nerve-wracking, no? Like right, doing it for an actual native. Yeah, like
And they're like,
they're just
exactly.
like, oh, this is great. This is not at all what my.
Yeah, exactly. But the fun thing is like, with the wonder of YouTube, you can find like native cooks that are making like very not special versions but very tried and true versions of their stuff, so you can usually land pretty closely. And paella is kind of fun because even though I didn't achieve it, I'm going to try again. They use a special rice, and when you cook down the paella, it creates this, I think it's succorat at the bottom of it, and so the rice gains this like crispiness. You get like
really nice,
like a crust basically when you cook it down. And after when you're cooking it, you don't touch it so that it can develop this crust. So you get like this contrast of textures and stuff between like the soft rice on top and the crunchy rice on the bottom. Anyway, so that was fun.
Be right
I
back.
really
Going to get food. Just like no, it sounds delicious.
Yeah. And I'm in the thick of just before we got on here, I was working on the latest books, and I was struck by my penchant for like names. Like for me, like names in books are like an N-way puzzle, because like you can't just like think about the character names themselves. You have to think about them in relation to all the other names that are in the book.
Yes,
I don't. At least for me, I don't like have two names that are like too similar to one another. So I was just trying on a bunch of different ones for size, and it's kind of neat how that flavors everything about the character for me anyway. Even though I do change names, like if I'm not satisfied, I have to stop. I must take time to like figure out what the new name is, because it just bothers me the entire time. And some authors can like use like XXX or whatever, just like a placeholder, for a time. I just can't. I have to stop and do that. So in the game, I am playing a character who has a name, and his name is Bolo Brastuk. Bolo. So he is a treasure hunter who has been wowed by the stories that Bilbo told him when he was young about his experience with dragons. And now he himself is going to see a dragon. So he is both excited and nervous and a little bit scared to do so.
Yeah, and things are about to get real. I think it's fair to say as we go in here. But I'm excited to see how Bola manages things. I did note that every time I talked to Brad about this, so much of the time it ends up being like, and then here are these things that end up being somewhat food related, which very much fits the concept of a character who, as we now know, has actually gained a defensive benefit even to the use of flank searer. So like
Clang, clang, clang.
interweaving it is like, you people have your pets and your menagerie, whatever, but I have a pan, and I want that to be clear, well seasoned.
The mention of characters that sound the same, and I'm like, you mean like Dory, Nori, and Ori? No!
No, it's fair. I'm sure that Tolkien is just like, this will be easier to remember all the names now. But
that added flavor to that
Right.
to that group. That was one of my
Right.
favorite things about Tolkien in general, like the similarities between like father and son, mother and daughter, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like it like implied lineage and stuff, and then, you know, brotherhood, sisterhood, that kind of thing. So that was one of my favorite parts of
it's true.
Tolkien's works.
But I think it also proves, like, Brad's point, though, in that, like, you don't really have a sense of differentiated personalities between Ori, Dory, and Nori, right?
Yeah.
But you do have them between the group of Philly and Killy, who are kind of the same in being
Right.
very young.
Right.
And you get, like, Thorin Oakenshield is the only one who has a name like that, and he is one that gets a lot more development. Bilbo and Gandalf have a lot more individuality and stuff. And I think, like, the names really reflect them. Like, you're supposed to see the dwarves as this not quite differentiated mass of beards and bumbling, right? And
Well,
Yeah.
and then there's Bombor, whose personality is being cut, so.
Yes,
And who,
yes.
as we're repeatedly told, counts for 2, like all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
We're just gonna let you know. Yes.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
never really thought about this before, but like now that we're on it, like if they all had unique individual names, it would have been like a whole bunch of nonsense. Like I can't remember who the fuck is who in this group, you know.
Exactly.
But by making them similar, it's like, okay, here's some, here's a few, you know, over here. And
Yeah.
I remember always trying to like, you know, after I had not read the books for a little while, like trying to remember all of their names and stuff, you know, and you find one like Dory, and then you remember the other two, you know, or Feely and then Keely, and there was always like a few like the 7 dwarves where I would forget like one, you know, here or there kind of thing.
That's
Anyway.
right. And
God, I do know them all still.
there's
Oh,
I it's cheating for me insofar as I teach it every year. So I can't say, but I don't teach The Hobbit, but still. But yeah, the other thing is too the mind of a linguist, right? That you can actually have not just sort of the internal rhyme, right, of Balin and Dwalin and so forth, but then we don't keep Bomber, Lomber, Romber, right? It's Biffer, Bofer, Bomber. So everything is just BBB as opposed to the sort of internal rhymes that we get. Anyway, yeah, you're right about that. That's true. And it's the same thing with, you would never mistake, I think, a Hobbit name for most other things. So I actually admire the fact that the AIME crew, the like game that we're playing right now, had to do stuff like that. Like they had to really stretch out like what exactly is Dwalin's personality behind the basis of, you know, and that sort of thing, and what distinguishes him from Balin and the other. So anyway, yeah, I'm with you. I agree.
Balin also has like a relatively distinguished.
Balin is, but how much knowledge did you have of Dwalin, right, before, you know, in terms of like separate information? So what they talk about him as being a dour warrior within the game, which seems reasonable since you don't get all that much of Dwalin in The Hobbit, but you certainly get a lot of Balin, obviously. So
like I know, like people, including me and everybody else, really like to shit on the movies. But like I think one thing they did really, really well, which they sadly then abandoned in the movies, is that they really characterized, that is the word, all the different dwarves, that like gave them like very distinct personalities and
Yes.
very distinct silhouettes and designs and everything, which is
and the casting of the actors was done really well. It's
Yes.
just a shame that they then threw it all away and decided to rely on ridiculous love triangles and barrel writing. Anyway, so Trent, yeah, quick, I want to move on to
yeah, this will be real quick, and it has to do with flank setter, and Bolo starting to use it as kind of a buckler. In my head, that's where Samwise learned it.
Oh
With the
yeah.
bang, bang, is it? He
Oh
learned it from
yeah, that's true, because that is
Canon,
prominent part
canon.
of it. Yeah, that's right. Wow. Yeah, there's quite a bit of, there's a little bit of Bolo and Sam. I can see that. You know, Interesting. Well, that's true. So I'll have to see the legends. No pressure then. You just have to build a legend that Sam will recognize. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, it is always a pleasure to have Brad and Bolo along with us. And it is also a pleasure, of course, to have Tari Tunes with us, who is back once again to regale us with dwarven stories, etc. How you doing, Tari? How's life in the universe with you? How's everything going with move-in stuff and all that, with the house development, etc., and who you're playing today?
Well, like with the house, not a lot has happened. Like just like this weekend was quite busy because like the birthday parties and whatnot. And like speaking of food, we had an impromptu barbecue yesterday, which was pretty good. Pretty good. Like there was a lot of arguing on how to do steak properly on the grill.
Of course.
One of my boyfriend's uncles likes his steak well done, and I have lost all respect for him over that. So yeah, no. Like yeah, I can be petty like that. Maybe I just do it for because I like to pretend to be offended.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. I just pretend to be offended. I'm not
I was gonna say.
Or am I?
Yeah.
No. And like also speaking of food, I got these delicious things, Tony's.
You're eating Tawnies. I don't. I'm just.
That's like this brand of Jaffa cakes that they have here called Tony's.
Oh my God.
So it's spelled differently. So the H is missing, and I just spilled them all over my desk. Fantastic. I'm playing a dwarf from the Erebor. Her name is, or rather, her name entitles are Thane Inge Homefinder, daughter of Ida, and she's a council member of King Dine II. She is a wanderer, a stonemason, a clan chief. I need to write down all the different things so that I can like do like a really long list. Like
also makes julienne fries. Like you need to get like all the
and some end papers too.
Yeah. Leather bound.
Yeah. And also currently the one person in the party who has the most animal companions, which would be.
Didn't realize it was a competition.
Oh no!
Yeah, and
It
a
is
non-edible
now.
companion.
Wow.
It'd be just like 20 minutes just dedicated to the animals, and then I have the river's cat, and then the river's the bunny, and the.
And then Tony comes in with like his entire flock of sheep and like several swarms of bees, right?
Yeah, exactly. They give me advantage on warmth checks. Like what? Like, it's not even a thing.
But yeah, like those animal companions include Lilleman, who will not be part of this here adventure because last time we went this route, he cracked one of his hoofs, and we ain't gonna have that happen again. Also, I think the trolls tried to eat him.
That's true.
Which also no bueno. So and the other one, the newest addition to the party is Freki, a raven of the Lonely Mountain, who's something.
Who is a raven?
I haven't seen of him so much yet, so like there's not a lot to tell about him yet. He's a raven.
More will be more.
I'm sure he will have his moments. He doesn't
Yes.
have any hoofs that he could get cracked, so that is good.
That's true. No one ever cracks a beak on a bird, do they? I mean, it'll be fine. It'll be great.
What about your non-edible companion? Don't you have one non-edible one?
Non-edible companion.
Right, I have the
Thrush.
robot thrush,
Right.
whose name I also written down somewhere in my very, very all over the place notes. I'm
He's
like,
just
this
sitting there
page
rusting-
Is full. I just gotta turn to a different page.
Right,
and
rusting in
scribble
your
something on a
bag
different
because you're so into Freki now. You're just like, the
Yeah.
It's just twitching every now and again, like.
Meow. Every once in a while, please
Meow.
let me
Just
fly.
Half a wine, please. Oh, thank you.
So yeah, that's me and my character.
Very excited to have Tari with us and Inga, and also very excited, of course, to have Amal with us again. Amal, it is a pleasure to have you on as always. How is life in the universe with you? How's your menagerie of animals doing? Which, to be clear, has always been the same. There's been no menagerie. It's always just been stone. The power of stone compels
I
you.
thought you were asking me about my cats.
Well, that's another menagerie that, yes,
here.
we could. No, how's life in the universe with you, and who are you playing today, Mel?
Things, I knock on wood, things are okay. I had a really, really lovely day visiting my family yesterday for Easter-y type things also, and we had a lovely, yesterday it was warm enough that we could all sit outside and have a lovely Easter brunch together in the sunshine, and today it is snowing. So, it's just great. But yeah, things are okay. I continue to knock on wood about marking and finishing off this term. But my hope is, looking at a calendar, my hope is that in 10 days' time it will all be behind me, and then I don't need to think about anything to do with teaching or marking for 4 whole months. That is my dream right now. So, and I am playing the River, who is a woodsman of Roscobel, but also lately hath become Thane River music wielder, who is that it? Yes, music wielder.
Yep.
And she is a warden who is a fighty bard, and has a faithful hound of Mirkwood named Stone, who is the most good boy.
He is absolutely the goodest boy. Yes, I am excited to have everyone with us, and let us, with no further ado, talk a little bit about what happened in our last session, and then set us here for what we have going forward. I am going to fire up today, I think, a little bit of, let's put in some, no, let's do some garden music, actually. Garden music. There we go. Okay. In our last session, which happened just 1 week ago, in our last session, the Andronauts have been making their way across the northern Dale lands as they prepare, I should say, the upper marshes, preparing to go into the northern Dale lands, as they are going to head north into their favorite place, the Waste, and then their even more favorite place, the Withered Heath, and Zerankabar, the Dwarven Watchtower. Why would they go to these places, you might say, when they could just stay home and hang out at Haven, or hang out at Erebor, or hang out in the Shire, or hang out in, Tani's home? And the answer is, as ever, work calls. And in this particular case, the heroes of Dale have been called upon to do no less than to slay a dragon. First of all, that would be difficult enough. If it is true that this is the dragon Raynor, which the party has had, except for Bolo, has had reason to meet and treat with in the past at the end of Wilderland adventures. If this is that same dragon, then it has become even more powerful insofar as now its breath seems to have kindled. It now seems to be a fire-breathing dragon, which is even more dangerous than the regular kind of, not so fire-breathing dragon. And so that is a thing which, both because of visions and because of evidence and information that has been gathered by King Dane, they have been sent to deal with this dragon. But they are not the only ones that have been sent to do so. There are 3 other groups that are in the pursuit of this dragon. One of them is, we talked a little bit about this group previously. One of them is an old, I shouldn't say ancient, but certainly past his prime, I think you might say, Lord Elstan from Dale, who has been sent up kind of as a representative of Dale, you might say, to be able to do what is necessary to kind of bring them down, to bring down this dragon. That is one that has been sent by King Dane. A second is the Brothers Culdrim. These are the dwarves, a dwarven mercenary group that have also been sent up to deal with the dragon. Their reputation is somewhat unsavory, but they are also known to be quite efficient and effective, and that is one of the things that Dane wants in trying to deal with them. And the last group is Greystroke and Skurfira, a human hero and a dwarven bard, really, Skurfira Silvertongue, who have been traveling together to try to deal with this dragon as well. And in our last session, the party had a chance to meet that last group, because because they are traveling with some attempt to avoid gaining the knowledge of the dragon that they pursue. The dragon, of course, has spies, and there are risks of the party, kind of making the dragon aware. They did actually have one situation where the dragon was made slightly aware of them, and that was where they had this rumble in the earth situation where they gained a point of shadow. Other than that, they have been doing these repeated scores to prevent being discovered by the dragon, and if that ever happens and they get more of these things, they might reach the point where the dragon will actively be searching for them, and that would be bad. The party would like to be able to come to them on their own time, at a time of their own choosing, as they say, as opposed to having the dragon come upon them unawares. So in accordance with that, the party has tried to be careful and has come to the house of Gynar, a dwarven farmer. He and his wife Kona are living just to the not just to the north, but maybe a day's travel or so north of the Lonely Mountain, right at the edge before they go into either the Dalelands or into the Waste, sort of just tracing the border of the Waste as they continue to head north. And while they were there, they actually met Greystroke and Skrafira. The other party members, the other groups that are involved in this hunt against the dragon had already been and left, and so they had a chance to meet them. I would say that it was a delightful calm before the storm session in a lot of ways. There was a pleasant discussion with Gynar's daughter, who hung out a lot with Tawny, and found Tawny incredibly fascinating and not particularly scary, despite Tawny's best efforts. Inga, of course, had a chance to speak more with Gynar about experiences of what the dwarves had gone through and about what the Lonely Mountain could expect, and there was that concern there as well. Bolo had a chance to talk to Kona about basically recipe swapping and talking a little bit about various things that Bolo has learned through the power of Flank Searer and vice versa, and they were able to exchange recipe information and so forth as well. And the River had a chance to speak with Skrafira and actually exchange songs and actually have some music traded back and forth. Greystroke was not particularly friendly, but that's Greystroke, who was quite dour and made very clear that the dragon kill would be hers and hers alone. Skrafira was kind of like, yeah, that's just the way she is. Everything's good. We're all fine here, type of thing. But they were able to do that. And just before they left, the party had a chance to get last bit of advice from Gynar, who swore up and down that he would tell no one about their mission and about the information that had been given. And then when the party left in a cutscene, we find out that Gynar did actually end up telling people, not because he's a bad person, but just because, this is the most amazing, incredibly exciting thing ever, and he just has to tell someone. So
he's
that
a bad
is
person,
not,
and he should feel ashamed.
He's bad, and he should feel bad. It's true. And so the party is going to set off on their way. Before we do that, though, I want to jump back to one flashback moment, and then a shorter flashback moment. So the shorter flashback moment deals with Gynar and something that he told the party about where they should head next. So just remind me if I forget about that's going to be the quick flashback. But the longer flashback I want to take here has to do with before the Iron Hills, before they actually left the Iron Hills in the first place. And that is with Inga, who is brought by King Dane's advisors, basically brought to a dwarf named Karner Stonemason. Now, for reference to chat who may not remember this, Karner Stonemason is the father of two dwarves, Farner and Renner Stonemason, both dwarves that were discovered dead in the Waste as the party went looking out for Domi, and was trying to gather information about where this dwarven scholar had been left behind. The armor that was found in the tomb that Domi had unearthed, through a variety of careful diplomacy and charismatic speeches and the like, the party managed to get the dwarves to agree to give that to the Stonemason family, to the Stonemason clan. And so right before this session continues, I do want to give Inga a chance to speak with Karner. And when you walk into the room where Karner is being kept, there is of course, Karner Stonemason is decently well known as being particularly good at both quarrying and refining large quantities of stone. But when you walk into his room, you can see that he is seated all alone on a stone bench. his forge lies cold and dead behind him, and he has his head down, his hood is cast over his face, and he has in his hands a broken hammer, is what it looks like, the broken handle of a hammer. He holds the broken handle part on one side and the head of the hammer in the other, and is just his head is down. And as the advisor brings you in, they kind of, there he is, and then kind of, scurry away, Inga, so you are in the room with him.
Does he look up or anything
No.
when I come into the room?
No.
Yeah, I suppose Inga would walk up to him. And after a moment that probably feels too long.
Yes.
She would do the little cough and go Connor?
I answer to that name. Doesn't lift his head.
Do you also know to which name I answer?
I have taken little attention to other dwarves. I don't mean unkindness, but now my mind is on the names of the dead, not the living.
Well, my name is Inge of Clan Homefinder.
You see his head, the hood slightly stirs. He doesn't lift his head, but it slightly stirs a bit.
And before Inge says another word, she goes down on her knees in front of him and goes, I come to beg your deepest forgiveness. I was tasked with taking care of one of your sons, and I failed you.
And he lifts his head slightly, and you can now see. You remember, Inga, going out when you were a dwarven lass and had just begun your first interests in wandering that would later on become a full-blown love for it, and being fascinated by the craggy rocks and the mountains of your home, and how, if you looked carefully enough, you could see what looked like almost the faces of creatures carved into the outside of it. Clearly they weren't really, but you could see almost as if you imagined them almost as craggy faces in the rock. This seems to you almost as a reverse of that, as if this face has been carved from the side of the mountain, and you can see the carves, the carving marks, the wrinkles and so forth of his face look as if they were carved in stone. And there is what looks like an area that might have been a brook or a river, sort of tracing down the corners, from the corners of his eyes down these wrinkles, as if the river at the side of a mountain had eroded it over countless years and years and years. The rivulet now seems dry. He is not crying, but he looks just utterly broken. And he sort of looks up at you as if taking you in. His beard is all white and somewhat disheveled and not braided or, taken care of really. And he sort of, his deep, intense blue eyes kind of stare into yours, and he says, "You're responsible for my son?"
He joined my clan a few years ago. And while out on a scouting mission, he fell dead. I don't know who or what got him, but I found his body.
And he nods slowly and he says, "Then perhaps you can explain this." And he holds up the hammer head and the handle. "This was from my other son. Perhaps, Theininga, you can use your skills and fame to knit together this hammer and the body of my children.
I'm afraid that that is beyond my capabilities. And I am deeply, deeply sorry about both of your sons. I'm sad to say I came too late to rescue Farner.
And he kind of lowers his head again. He says, "So has been the life of the stonemasons. Always too late to be of use." He kind of bends his head away again.
Your sons did not die in vain. And Inge, like, basically, like, I'm assuming she had, like, a box with her that the armor was in.
Okay, sure.
That she, like, sat down next to the door, basically, when she came in.
Mm-hmm.
And she, like, goes to retrieve it, and puts it down in front of him. I'm sure you've heard about the rising tensions between the people of Dale and the lake, and between the dwarves of the Erebor and the Iron Hills.
He inclines his head but doesn't say anything.
Your son Farner went out. Yeah, he was involved in trying to retrieve this armor, and with that she opens a box and gets out and like lifts up with both hands the armor for Karnar to see, and says, retrieving this armor was integral to preventing all-out war between our people and the people of the Lake and of Dale.
And he kind of, his head shifts slightly, so he takes in the armor and he says, and why bring this shiny thing to me?
Because I believe it is a symbol of their legacy. Retrieving this meant that they saved probably countless of lives.
But not theirs, he says.
No, you're right. Some material object can't make up for what is lost, but considering how many people wanted to go to war over this, I felt, and also the king felt, that you should be given this armor. Do with it as you wish.
And he kind of stares down, and then kind of reaches out a impossibly browned and wrinkled hand and sort of feels the surface of it. And he does this with the hand that's holding the handle of the hammer, and then he lifts his head slightly and he says, I've heard stories of you, Theininga. You have become somewhat of a legend. And then he lifts his head all the way and says, do you really think that there deaths, the finding of this thing has prevented war.
I do. I absolutely do.
And he kind of leans back slightly. You know, my family, our clan, has always been more invested in building than in destroying. Other clans spend their time on the building of weapons of war. For us, the task has always fallen to build places where we will live in times of peace. If you can tell me that their deaths meant life for others, then it might ease the burden of an ancient heart.
It did. It did save the lives of many. An impossible to know number of people.
Make a persuasion check. Do it at advantage.
Nice. Because good God, I need that advantage.
Well,
Yes!
that's what I'm talking about.
Yes!
Those of you at home, as Trent would say, that is a natural 20.
Right.
He takes a moment and he stares long into your eyes, and then he sort of nods slowly, and he stands up. And you can see when he stands up that you have met many strong people in your life, many people who are physically strong, mentally strong. But there are some who, on occasion, have the strength of the place from which they come. There is something about the strength of home, about the way he stands, a solidity to it, as if there were something that grew from the ground below the earth and threw him into his legs and his body, as if he were himself a mountain rising from the earth below. And he sort of stands for a moment, and then he says, I will build a stand on which this armor may sit. I will not wear it, but I will keep it as a memory of peace that could be. And as for you, and he, as you're still, I assume kneeling, I believe, still, Inga, so he bends down and he puts the handle and then the head of the hammer below you, right next to the armor. And he puts a hand on your head and he says, I did not blame you for the death of my children, but I thank you for giving me a sense of the meaning of it. If you should ever need something to be built, a place where peace may happen, then my forge will be lit for your desire. I am grateful, and I forgive you. I would ask that you take these things. I do not have the strength to hold on to them anymore, but perhaps another can reforge this hammer. Perhaps it can serve another as it did my son. Go in peace, Thaininga. And then he turns and he walks over to his forge, and you hear a chick, 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 and then and the glow of the forge begins to rise.
Yeah, Inge picks up the pieces of the hammer, gets up and like holding back tears basically, like with like the slight crack in her voice. She goes, thank you. Please know that you and your clan will forever have a place at my table. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, please call on me.
And as you're about to leave, he says, without turning around, there is one thing. Bring peace. Do what you must, but bring peace. I want no more conversations with grieving fathers again. And then the bellows.
Yeah, Inge takes a deep bow, and then turns to leave.
Good stuff. The second mini flashback happens with specifically with Gynar, and for this you'll be happy to know that I have a new map for all of you.
Maps.
You're like,
I like
what?
maps.
A new map? Now, don't get too excited. It is a subsection of a map we've seen, but it's got a different name. It's called the Shadow of His Wings. Isn't that great? I'm sure that's fine. It's not ominous in the least.
Shadow of his
The
wings.
Shadow of His
Well,
Wings.
at least we now know the gender of our adversary. I
Oh
suppose.
no, I meant to say the shadow of their wings so as to keep it so you would have no way of knowing. Okay. Okay, so here's what you
We
see
get
before
any
you.
new information from this? Yes, completely useless
You
information.
get totally useless, gives us nothing. No, it does. It may give you something. So,
Oh,
here's
that's how you spell his name. Mm.
yes, Ginar. So there is Gynar's house that you can see, which is right, literally almost at the intersection of three areas of land: the upper marshes, the northern dale lands, the upper marches, not marshes, the northern dale lands, and then the waste. And a place to go. Now, one conversation that I believe I mentioned in passing, but I want to just remind everyone of, is Gynar's recommendation about which way to go. Given the need for both speed and also to avoid going into the waste for as long as possible, the suggestion Gynar made was that you head almost straight north, about 2 days direct travel, to a home which is known as the House of Breck. There's a man there whose name is Scarf Skulson, who is the head of the House of Breck. Now, the problem with the House of Breck...
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I know this is very important information, but
Do you
the
wish to
man's
comment
name
on
is-
Scarf Skulson?
well, it's the fact that I mean, is the house slow or is the House of Breck fast? And does the man named Scarf consume a lot of
Does he
Breck?
scarf it down
That's
quickly?
Scarf is Breck. Anyway,
The
that's
house
all.
is actually shaped like a scarf. No, yeah, exactly, Hilna.
Shaped
Scarf
like a
scarfs into the
puzzle.
Scarfingtons.
Yeah.
I have
No, he does not
two
scarf
scarves that
down
have
anything.
skulls
Yes, no,
on
I got it.
them.
I got the scarf you were reading.
Oh.
And I will say that it's actually spelled like the scarf you're thinking of, actually, Amal. But no, not so much about that. And in fact, that you will have a decision to make about this. The recommendation that Gynar made was for two reasons. Number one, this is a way that basically keeps you out of the waste, like right on the border, which is the way you wanted to go, and heading in the direction of the watchtower, which is, basically over this way, right? But does so while also giving you a chance to get to a place where you can then find a place of relative safety, and that will be the last place of relative safety if you're going to, because otherwise, once you get to that place, After that, to avoid the waste, you would have to go west into the Northern Dalelands, and that's way far out of your way. And so you're going to have to go into the waste eventually. Now, the thing about Scarf that he warns you is, so there's two, let me finish with the other reason. So one pro is that it's fast. The second pro to getting to this is the fact that this is also the direction the other parties were going, including Lord Elston and the Dwarven Mercenary Company. In addition, you're not 100% sure if Scarfira and Dreadstroke were going that way also. But you know that most people that most of the hunting parties, at least the other two, were headed that way. So since you have been both trying to meet those hunting parties / assess them, right, and get a sense of whether they can be trusted or not, that might be another benefit to that as well. However, there is a con to it, which is that Scarf Skulson is not known to be particularly friendly. He is the kind of person who is he's not the most welcoming of hosts, but he knows the wastes exceptionally well. In fact, Guynar makes it clear that no one knows the wastes better than this guy. And so if you can go and could win his favor, he could give you all kinds of information that would allow you to kind of sneak through the waste and avoid stuff with dragons and all that other kind of stuff. So that would be the case if you... Oh, hold on a second. I'm being summoned by my child. Yes?
Summoned.
The thing that worries me is that we are heading to a home of someone with an alliterative name, while Brad is wearing a Marvel t-shirt. He's either a hero or a villain, and I don't know which. And...
His Christian name is the Kingpin, and no.
Oh God.
So.
Well,
no.
like, considering that, like, Tolkien was a huge nerd for, like, classic literature. Well, classic literature is like a misnomer, I guess, in this case, because it, like, evokes the Greeks and the Romans.
Right.
No, like, classic Germanic literature, I should say. So, like, alliteration is, like, usually a good thing, right?
Right.
Right?
It always, I mean,
Right?
I think a dwarven name, if there isn't some alliteration associated with some of it, then, you get into trouble. So I think that's part of it.
Speaking of Marvel and alliteration, like, while Amal is still gone, here's a fun fact for those of you, like, I'm assuming most of you know, because, but, like, like, the whole thing about Loki Laufeyson, like, that has nothing to do with, like, Loki's dad being Laufey. Laufey is his mom.
Right.
But, like, they only use that, presumably, like, we don't know for a fact, because we can't ask Snorri.
True.
But, like, that it is just used for alliteration, because,
yes. That's quite the case. So here, let me just plug in. My daughter is on break from school this week, so she is going to be checking us out. So little Arv is going to be hanging out. I got to put on the connector headphones.
Oh, she can't hear us. Okay.
Right.
No signal. Ooh.
Can she hear us, though? That's the question. Okay, good.
Yes, now she can. Hello.
Not so little anymore, Arv.
Not so little anymore, Arv. Who's gotten into all the schools and is going to an awesome regional program and is doing all the stuff and is all just the business. Okay, I will stop embarrassing her. So just to finish up with, yes, and chat says hi as well. One other quick note, by the way, which is that while we were talking, we have gained 2 more subs. So we are now up to 954 subscribers for YouTube, 46 away from that 1,000 mark. Once we get to 960, I will give the party another bit of information that may be of use to them. So if you can get another 6 subs, chat, that would be helpful. If we somehow miraculously got to 1,000 during this session, which is a little bit of a push, but if we could do that, then I'll have to think of some suitable reward for everybody.
We win and the dragon dies.
Yeah, then the dragon just immediately does not actually burst into flames, although I think that would be,
Well, you just implodes, maybe.
Thank you, Mike, very much. And actually, I was talking about YouTube subs, but I appreciate the Prime sub, too. This is, of course, Peripheral Mike, who is responsible for a lot of my intro videos that you see now being provided on this channel. And Peripheral Mike, of course, is one of my players in my Ghosts of Saltmarsh and my Talisman Adventures game, and is a good dude.
I do have a request for the chat.
Okay.
Oh?
I want those of them who are on Twitter, to go to Twitter and send out a tweet saying that we're trying to get another 46 million subs.
No, just 46.
That's what I said.
46 million subs.
On YouTube and link the thing, and then come back here and post the link to that tweet so that we can then go and like and retweet it, and we cross-pollinate everything, and we spread the word across hither and far and yon and wide.
That would be awesome. And Garlic Tofu's Twitter, which is, I will try, actually, Garlic Tofu can link that, has a lot of these things too, which could be tweeted and retweeted. So yes, thank you, Trent. That's very much the case.
I think that if you get to 1,000 subs, it's not that I don't know where we're getting this like dragon explodes, implodes, whatever. No, what happens, obviously, is that we defeat the dragon because the dragon suddenly has to start a podcast and realizes that it has to just like really stay in that cave and churn out the content and get like a significant backlog going.
I'm a content creator.
Yeah. Welcome to the Dragon's Den.
Right.
You know,
Smash that like button.
Pitch the dragon on, you've been a destroyer
Subscribe
of
or
things
else.
for so long, a destroyer of content. Why not become a creator,
creator of content, exactly.
So-
Just like,
And he feels so bad that he returns a mouse harp.
it's like,
No, that's fine. He can keep the harp. The harp can be like a conversation piece. It can be, you know what? It could be, the podcast can be harping with Raynar. And just like
to create his
Very
intro,
podcast
right? Exactly.
in which dragons and other like dubiously evil races, etc., can come onto the podcast, vent their spleens, air their grievances, and then feel a little bit better about it.
That's right.
And stop.
Don't vent your spleen.
That sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I love burninate that subscribe button.
Spotify will be all over that. They'll be like, Rogan, who the hell's that? This Raynar guy. That's what we want.
That's
on our
the
thing.
guy who really matters. But no,
Yeah.
seriously, if you can sub to my YouTube channel, and again, the link to that YouTube channel you can see is right up there in Garlic Tofu's link. But thank you, everybody, and thanks everybody, and thank you, Peripheral Mike. Thank you, dude. Very very much appreciated, man. Thank you. Okay, so to go back to what we were talking about before briefly here. So basically that means the party has a decision that it has to make, which is Garnar's suggestion is both because of Breck's knowledge of the waste and because it's the last spot basically that you can reasonably avoid the waste before going in, that it would make sense to go there. But the party needs to be aware that, again, Breck is not the kindest place and Scarf is not the kindest host. So you need to be aware of that going in. That said, that is Guynar's recommendation. So I did want to just make sure that I mentioned that part of things. So having done so, now the question is if the party wants to move forward or not. Actually, if you just drag your character down...
Click on the newspaper icon at the top.
Yeah, and then take your character and just drag him onto the map. It should be all good.
Quick question, sorry, is Scarf a dwarf?
No, Scarf is a human.
Ah, okay.
And grab the name, not the icon.
There you are. Well, Bolo's in the waste. Oh!
We was right here just a minute ago.
Bolo's like, I don't know where they are. I thought they were over this way. This is an unhospitable place. I'm just slightly sizing you properly, Bolo. Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
how do I
think
s-
we need to go to Breck's place because Inge can just find us a safe place to rest that isn't Breck. Since we are still in known lands before we go into the waste. So I think, like, I would vote probably to, like, avoid Breck, maybe, like, even, take a... What's it called? Wait, let me just paint on the map what I mean.
Why do you want
Like,
to...
basically, like, we are here now, that we basically walk here, find a safe place to rest here, and then, like, because this would be, like, way shorter through... Well, would it?
It's
She's had her
Not actually.
village.
No,
closer
because
to
the
waist,
no,
but,
because the watchtower's over this way. So you would have to cut back at that point. If you were going to go that way, you'd have to cut back to the right, like that.
I see.
So
Well, that would still be 2 hexes, so it would be the same distance. but-
She's had her fill of jerks, which is why she doesn't want to go.
yeah. I mean, hey, big boss.
No, just like thinking of because this is probably where Greystroke and Scophira would be going, right? So like maybe it would be wise to like take a route that they wouldn't take. Maybe is what I'm thinking. Like,
I mean,
yeah.
so okay. What are the benefits of Breck's place?
The two benefits that you were told by Gynar were that, one, nobody knows the waste better than Breck, and that includes you, Inga, which is nothing against you. It's just the fact that, like, this is a person who knows it backwards and forwards and lived in the waste.
I don't have the waste as a known land.
Exactly. This guy knows everything about it, so could help you navigate the next portion faster. And the second reason was the fact that that's the way the other parties probably are heading. And it, since you had said you wanted to try to check out a little bit, kind of like you just did with Greystroke and Scophira, to kind of get a sense of what the deal is with this dwarven mercenary group and with Lord Elston. You know Lord Elston, but you don't know the details about what he's been doing in the process of this trip. This is where they were supposedly going. So that was the theory behind those. But so yeah.
I guess before we leave from Garnar's place, then Inga would inquire if he happens to know any ways to appease Scarf. Maybe he has like a certain fondness of honey cakes or something that he just, he will turn into the most pleasant individual one has ever met if he is presented with a true Bjarning honey cake.
So,
like
just as a for instance.
Right. So one of the thing that Gynar definitely mentioned is that whereas Gynar and Kona are very friendly sorts, as we mentioned, Scarf is not so much a friendly sort. And so that patience is the main thing in dealing with this person. Like if you go in and you're just like, be polite to me, you son of a, like if you go that route, then obviously it's not going to work out so well. This is not a person that you necessarily have to bow and scrape to, but just it does not have a good bedside manner. So is going to be rude almost certainly, and that kind of thing.
I also want to point out that, in the context of this game, Bjorn is like a prickly host that is kind of a jerk and needs to be like approached carefully and appeased and stuff, and he is extremely beloved. So
and he's hot as hell. Oh well, maybe that's
silence reigns from everyone else. You're just like,
yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying, it's not because I want to contradict you, Tran. It's just the fact that I wasn't trying to build an argument where we want to seduce Scarf, but I mean, I see...
We are not ruling it out.
Okay.
There are many
Let's go to
possible
Breck
paths
and find Tony a boyfriend. Let's go. It is settled.
Why did you change the dates to midnight Eastern, Arv? Oh, I can't imagine why. I don't know why I changed it.
Anyway... I don't think there's a really compelling reason to avoid the House of Breck. Wait, so the guy's name is Scarf, but the house is called Breck?
Correct. That is his home. His name is Scarf Skulson, but it is known as the House of Breck, almost like Rivendell, except not Elven, and he's annoying.
Does Breck mean anything?
Yeah.
It has been in his family for a long period of time. And so it may be sort of like a family home, but you're not clear about how we got from, because his last name is Skulson, not Breck. So you don't really know the details of that. Although I will say, let me see, is there anyone here? Yeah, no, I don't think you would know. You wouldn't know beyond that. Actually, I'll have...
I'll be right back.
Tani, let me have you make a lore check, but I'm going to have you do this at disadvantage. This is a stretch, I think.
Okay.
Arf?
Yes.
Quick backpedal. Inga would have left the broken hammer at her clan's.
Oh, okay.
place.
Okay, that's good to know.
She's not
15.
gonna take that one with her.
I'm sorry, say again.
15.
15. Yeah, you don't really remember. There's something about the name Scarf Skulson that's kind of tickling your memory somehow. Not like, oh yeah, he was the guy who killed 1 million. I'm just saying, like, there's something about the name you might have heard before, but you have no context for it. It's just a name that sounds vaguely familiar.
Like thinking because like Brech kind of sounds like Bruch in German,
Mm-hmm.
and like brechen is also a thing that's like when you have to throw up, but that's probably unrelated. No, it's like
Seems-
probably
Seems not likely.
well, like it also means to break something. So like I'm assuming it's like basically like kind of a crack in the ground type of situation, right? Like a little canyon valley type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I totally know English terminology for like landscapes and stuff.
Yes. Almost like this Fisher. What are we being shown here? This is like,
Fisher.
That's
right,
the bread
that was the
that
word.
she went to do.
oh, that's the bread.
Ooh,
Oh man.
that's
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It
That's
looks like
nice.
that bread.
Amal, make some noise so we can see it better. Make some noise.
Make some
Say
noise.
something.
Make
There we
some
go.
noise.
Yes, I just
It was-
want to. I wanted to
can-
show it off because it came out super pretty, and my
Ooh.
slashing came out really nice. And I'm using a
Ooh.
Banneton, and it's extremely hot though, so I can't pick it up and show it to you very easily right now.
That looks
Like
really
gotta
good.
drool now because
It
I haven't
smells
seen a
really
good bread
good.
in quite
Yeah,
some
I know, I
time.
can smell it
so...
from here.
All right, so I'm going to give you my address, and I expect that to be sent peace soon.
Post haste.
All right.
Post. Hey, nice.
Post it, yes. Yes, I see what you did there.
And I get disadvantage on all rolls.
That's, you are permanent disadvantage.
Well,
Okay.
friend, like if we would be enforcing that rule in this game, then we would all be getting disadvantaged all the time.
All the time.
Considering all the puns we make all the time.
It is a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what the party has in front of it as a thought, as a decision to make.
Okay, so like I know that's metagaming now, but like all the arguments towards like comparing him to Bjorn and then Trans Reaction really wants me to go see that guy now and see how that plays out.
Tawny is not looking for a boyfriend.
Ah. Well, I mean, doesn't mean he can't find one just because.
You're right,
he's looking.
exactly.
Sometimes love just appears in mysterious
Sometimes
ways.
love finds you.
Exactly.
And it would be the most beautiful thing if somebody so cross and disagreeable winds up being, somebody that falls in love with Tawny. It would
It's
just
like-
be
it's
You
like
can
an-
fix him, Fred. You can fix him.
Oh, that's a beautiful basis for all
Yeah,
relationships.
it's
I
just
can
fixing
fix
people.
them.
It's like the negative inversion of Ash and River, right? Like it's just sort of like, and meanwhile, just like, oh, you're a piece of garbage. Well, so are you. I love you. All right. Well,
I
please
would
don't.
watch that show. Just saying.
Big Boss, as far as the dragon situation, they are leaving Guinar's house. We had a little bit of a flashback where Inga gave the armor back to the stonemason clan that had been the armor that was a big part of last adventure. So the party right now is deciding whether to go to the house of Breck and to find Scarf Skulson, the owner, who can help them navigate if they can get over the fact that he's kind of a jerk and all that, or if they want to try to bypass that and just go up directly. And so that's what the party is making its final decision on. Also, everyone who retweeted and tweeted it, thank you so much. I am super grateful for that. Thank you, Red Lear, for doing that as well. As I pop up and look at these notifications, thank
I'm
you,
sorry
dude,
for
so
the
much.
interruption of
That's so
Bread.
cool.
But so sorry. Did Tawny make a lore check and get information about?
No,
Breck?
just a name. It doesn't
Oh,
it doesn't
okay.
stay with anything as yeah.
Yeah, so I know we were thinking of wanting to avoid the other parties, I think. Like I wanted to meet Greystoke and Scrifira. I think the other ones we were kind of like, the dwarves seem like a kind of shady bunch, maybe we don't want to meet them. Lord Elston, maybe a nice dude, we don't know. But either way, it just seems like if going around it is going to lengthen our journey through the waste, then if he can offer any insight into navigating the waste, then that is all to the good. So I think it's worth going. The way that River will convey this information is, I don't think we should avoid any opportunity to know more about the waste as we move through it. And like whenever she even says every time she says the waste, she kind of has this very small involuntary pause because her and it's the kind of involuntary pause that comes from rallying your whole body to remember A, the place that you're talking about without flinching, and B, trying to kind of clench the fist of your soul in order to think about going back there. She does not like it. She hates it very much.
Like, Inge thinks for a moment and then goes, well, I suppose I have gotten used to dealing with grumpy humans by now, and then, like, throws a glance at Tony and grins.
River very politically says nothing about the grumpiness quotient of different people in this party. Slightly squints at Inga, but says nothing.
Wait, was River there for like for most of it, right? Of like the whole Tony and Inga beef, right?
Oh yeah, well,
yeah,
some of it, yeah.
So, some of it.
Not the beginning of it, but
no, not the beginning, but most of it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But Tony kind of won Inga over with the whole "let's blow up this cave" thing.
Explosions. Who doesn't love?
Okay, so if the party is the party, in my understanding, is generally in favor of heading north to get to Breck, then is that the plan?
Sure.
Bolo, do you have any thoughts?
No, that seems wise to me, to at least go to a stopping point where we can take a breath before doing the largest, most dangerous leg of the journey. So he's in agreement.
I have a dead pixel in the middle of my screen.
Where the dragon lives.
Where I was gonna say that's the dragon.
Yeah, I have to like scroll around for that, but sure. No, wait, it's on the map. Oh my god, I was like, no, it's just a stain on the map. It's okay. I was like, God, do I need to buy a new screen?
Need to buy a new map.
One that's up by the T in the waist.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a weirdly square
it is.
stain on my screen.
That's funny.
Good lord.
No,
No, that's not funny. That's awful.
no, it would have been funny. It would have been not funny, but now now we can look back and laugh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well then, as the party sets off, then. So right now, as a reminder to everyone, the current score for the dragon hunt is 13, and your veil score right now is 6. So you may remember that when you do these checks, the check is a D20 plus your veil score, and you are trying to get a 13 or above. And as the score increases, this gets progressively harder. So far, you have only failed one of these checks, which is what led to that shadow point gain. But you will have to make another one here as the next day begins, as you depart Guinar's home and set north. Again, if all goes well, it should be about 2 days travel to do this. And I believe we had River acting as the lookout. So I don't know whether you want to continue to... I don't remember. Actually, I think you maybe just sort of switched around. I think you had Brad at one point rolling these because Bolo's rolls were somewhat better or something. So you can maintain that if you like, but you do have to make a roll as you set out here to head north.
No, if
like Brad remembers to roll high, that's the difference.
Yeah, if it's customary for the lookout to make these rolls, I'm fine with that. I just figured we were going
around robin.
Yeah, it's up to you folks.
Yeah.
What was I? Guide.
So
we have to do one per day as we're heading to Breck?
Correct. That's right. Yeah. Unless certain events may trigger an extra one, but at least one per day, basically. Yeah, and so 2 more.
I'll go ahead and do this one.
Okay.
Go ahead and do this one, and I will remind chat so that it would be sure would be nice to have inspiration.
To have inspirations.
Exactly. Oh, whoops, I was holding the wrong thing. So 1d20.
That is right, and then we'll give chat a moment to think if they want to do anything.
My brain misprocessed that as a Spanish name, Juan de 20.
The 20.
It was like, what? Oh, right. No.
Juan of the town, 20.
And just as a reminder to chat, thank you, actually, Renell, for looking at that. You can see what we've got right here. We have got, let's see, Amal has got one. Dragon Spear has got a couple. Hilness has got one. Redlear has got one. We've got, let's see, Tren has got 2. So yeah, I'm just letting everybody know, as far as people that I see.
And this is our last session in April, right?
Correct. Although the Espergenesis and Infinity and Beyond crew will probably be quite cross. They're like, what happened to all the inspirations from chat?
Oh,
Well,
no,
see, it was the
how
waste.
Terrible.
Sorry, quick question. Do we care
Yeah.
about that?
So Redlear has inspired the dragon. You can't actually inspire the dragon, Redlear. Redlear, are you inspiring someone besides the dragon, or you know? And Redlear's a fellow Canadian, so Amal, you should feel very frustrated and upset with the. No,
As we're as the crew is sort of debating on inspirations, Bolo is using flanks here to take the bread that we were given, the fresh bread, and the
Yes.
fresh cheese,
Yes.
and making like literally grilled cheeses for everybody.
Aw, that's
Ah, yeah.
lovely.
Good stuff. And it's.
Oh, I'm just imagining, like, you guys have seen Ghibli's Castle in the Sky, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the scene where they're like underground and like Patsu, that's the boy's name, makes like these grilled cheese sandwiches for them.
Oh,
on, like,
nice.
campfire.
Yep. No, grilled cheese is delicious. Which character do you want to inspire, Redlear? Right now, it was going to be, I think, the River was going to do this. Do you want to inspire the River?
It just occurred to me, I should probably not be the one rolling, if only because River has the gift dice that she can give to anyone who is not herself. So someone who is not me should be making those rolls so that that is an option.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say Tony, I think you should do it. Yeah.
Okay. So it's Tren. So assuming Redlear is okay inspiring Tawny with that, then and it sounded like Redlear was open to inspiring anybody as long as it was the dragon. And no, chat cannot cast the opposite of inspiration. There's no confusion option, Big Boss.
Who are you rooting for? What is going on? At what point did the audience turn on us and decide that actually what they want is for
When you
bad
showed
things?
bread and didn't share it with them, and they were just
It's
like,
the
now
internet.
we're just
I was
The internet
sharing
is
my
always
joy.
against.
you was sharing the bread.
I was
okay.
thinking of the wrong movie, by the way.
Tawny is inspired.
Completely apologize.
Hey, roll high, Tawny.
I'm rolling what?
You're rolling a
Roll high.
d20. You're going to add the Veil score, which is 6. And assuming you're using the inspiration for this, which I'd assume you would, but you tell me, that would be at advantage.
Advantage dice roller d20. That is only 1.
So that's a
Well,
17 is the first one.
Yeah.
So 17.
Right.
Hooray!
17 as opposed to 15. Okay. Yes, so success. You have gone forth. It's 13. And the first day of travel is, for the most part, uneventful. Although, as you get further north, the birds sing less. Inga Freki becomes more and more one of the only birds in the sky. You know, when Freki goes up and is flying around, you can really sort of tell that it's Freki because there are not that many as you get further north, especially looking to the east. Now, to the west, of course, you have the Northern Dale Lands, which is, you know, a land which is okay. It's not in great condition, but it's okay. But certainly to the east, you have the waste, and that can cause all kinds of problems, and we'll talk about that when you have to cross into the waste. So you notice that the animals are fewer. The weather seems to become increasingly gray. But other than that, nothing else attacks you, and you make your way through the day with relative ease and safety.
Quick question: can you remind me? Does Freki actually give Inga some kind of like advantage on lookout perception things?
I'm pretty sure he can assist the
lookout?
Well, depends on
Or the
what I
scout.
tell him. Like previously, I told him to assist Brad with Brad
Scouting and such.
Bolo with scouting?
scouting. Yeah, now I'm just like, Never mind. Yes. And like, I'm not sure if this is how it works in AME. In 5e, he would give advantage to whomever he would be assisting
Okay.
Yeah.
with stuff, right?
Right. Let me.
As Bolo's like,
Right.
there's a thing over there. And Frecky's like, no, okay, there's a thing over there.
Okay. Calls you a filthy casual. Casual. All right.
Casual.
Okay.
And now Arf gets disadvantage.
Yes. Now I am. I now blame myself. Okay.
As you should.
Let me find where because that was a Lonely Mountain region guide. So let me find the.
Maybe that's why chat
Virtue.
wanted to do the opposite of inspiring. This is a
Because of the jokes.
Yeah.
Look, if chat at this point it doesn't get the idea of what our humor is about, they've been in the wrong spot. I'm here to tell you.
Yep.
They're
I
in the
inspired
Be
wrong
glad
place.
the horse is not around, because then it would be just horse puns, like all day, every day.
All day long. That's actually a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. There's this. What I'm trying to do is track down the. Trying to track down this thing which is part of.
That's okay.
There we go. There we go. I
is-
got it.
Tawny is carrying this book with him so that when we get to the dragon, we can say, this is what happened to the last guy who messed with us. You really wanna?
Yes, advantage. I would say. This is. Yeah, you can give advantage to the scout on perception. In fact, it's one of the things that works better. The Frakey's ability is not particularly useful when you're underground, but when you're above ground like this is pretty much what Frakey's all about.
Well, like,
So.
Also, specifically, the Ravens of the Mountain have like some other things they do, but like this is just like how animals' companions in general work,
Right.
right? If they can help with something, they just give you advantage, right?
That's right.
I was
Also,
trying to
yeah, go
just the scout is like the stealth based role and the lookout is the perception based role. Is that correct?
yes, lookout is perception. Scout would be more stealth driven. Yes.
Cool. Okay. So
Also, one note, by the way, just as a reminder, that if Frakey is out on his own, that might stand out if you're trying to avoid notice on a clear sky or a gray sky. I'm just letting you know. I'm not saying, therefore, you should immediately pull him down. I'm just letting you know to be aware of that.
Yeah, no, she, like, I was actually thinking about that. Like, I assumed that, like, as soon as we would get into the waste, that she would, like, tell Friki to stay relatively low so that he can't be seen as easily
Right.
from afar.
Okay. So that will
but I'm
cut
not
down a
sure
little bit
how,
on. Yeah.
Useful that would be. Like while we are still in the Daylands. That's.
I mean, that's no real way to tell. That's up to you. But there will come a point where the avoiding of notice is helpful for that reason, but will make him less effective in terms of being able to perceive.
Don't make
So.
me do decisions.
It's all about decisions.
Yeah, I guess for now he can do his regular scouting, and then as soon as we would then leave Brecht, I guess, then he can be more cautious.
Okay. So when you position, so as I say, the rest of that day passes relatively uneventfully, and you, with about maybe 5 or 6 hours travel left to get to where you were told Breck was. The night is it is a half moon, actually a little less than a half moon. So there are clouds overhead. There's kind of a dull gray kind of pall over the land even at night. It's not pitch dark, but it's not particularly bright, and the lookout sort of passes a rather uncomfortable, evening kind of looking around, but nothing comes to attack. And on the next morning, the morning of the second day, as the party prepares to set out again, I will need the party to make another check, please. The score has now risen to 14 because of the new day. So you will need to try to get a 14 by rolling a 20-sided die and adding 6. So who have we got? I think it was Tani who did this last time. And I think you said the river does not want to do this because of, wanting to be able to use that die. So I guess the question is whether Bolo or Ingo or Tani again are going to do this check.
I did the first one, right?
Not today.
No, I mean like in general. Like since we
You
set
did
up
at least
this
one of
quest.
them before. I don't remember which
Yeah.
one, but yeah.
Bolo isn't
Brad is gone
currently-
right now, so
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sure. I'll do it then. So a d20, right?
Yep.
Yes, that's right. And then you're going to add
And
6.
Okay.
Okay,
Hmm.
so plus, and I am going to, give you a gift die. So maybe you should roll high on this 1d8
Oh,
that you
good
have.
that you reminded me. Now I will remember to roll high. Well, is it a
So you're
D6 or
dealing with an
D8?
8 right now.
Yeah,
D8 or D6?
it's
No.
a d8.
No,
We
yeah.
currently have a score of 8.
But you also
Yeah.
have a D8 that has been added because of the power
That's
of the
what
river.
I'm asking, yeah.
Yes, so roll.
Aha!
Wow.
See? Now I remember to roll high.
That was pretty
Hooray!
damn clutch. Wow. That was impressive.
That was useful. Thank you, Amal.
Thank you, Hilmus. Have a
Teamwork.
good meeting.
Makes
stuff.
the dream work.
Wow, teamwork make the dream work. Yeah, good stuff. All right. So you manage then to avoid more notice in the hunt, which means that you're able to proceed at relatively decent pace. Although you also notice now that the area that you're going is becoming more and more, the land is becoming more and more uneven as you draw ever closer to the waste. Now, the waste itself is mostly just kind of barren flatland, but it also tends to be, like everything in the waste, a slog to travel it. There's a difference between just walking on flatland and walking on land that is always like slightly dipping and rising, right? And it's like you never feel like totally comfortable or stable, and the land is beginning to do more of that as you proceed along. So it takes you a little longer than you might otherwise have hoped for. So it is twilight, ultimately, as you approach the low hill of where you were told Breck is. The wind is blowing from the east out of the fading light, and it carries with this the sulfurous stink of the wastes as you sort of smell this coming across this place. But you were able to look up and see something, and I actually have a picture for all of you of this place. And give me just a second here whilst I pull this thing up. Okay. It is now appearing on the stream.
I can't see the stream.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you have to enable participant
Oh,
sharing.
sorry. Yeah, give me a second. Okay. You should be able to do that now. It'll all look weird for a minute, chat.
Ah. Ooh, wait, isn't that picture in the book, actually? I'm like
Looks very good.
reasonably sure I have seen that one before.
So it looks
something
like,
very,
what it looks like to you is basically a large house on a hill, which is well fortified and surrounded by a stake-topped earthen mound. And the thing that's sort of strange to you is that looking down, as I said, it's gray and you're right near the waist and whatever, but the other thing that seems odd is that there are lights burning in the hall, and you hear noises as of many voices, like a party or something going on right now out of that main hall that you can see lit in the center of your map.
Yeah, this party is lit, all right.
Lit.
So yeah,
Yes,
yeah, I
it's a
guess
mound
we
topped with steak.
Can expect the company down there. Up there. It's up, right?
Up there a little bit,
Hills
yes.
usually go up, right?
It's up,
Not down.
yes. In my experience, yes. So that's what it looks like.
Yeah. No, Inge says that actually out loud to the game.
Yeah. River looks up going, well, it seems that doesn't... Somehow I doubt that Greystoke and Scrofira would be making that kind of merriment.
Also, I don't think they would be producing that many voices, right?
true.
That this
Good number of people.
that the scarf guy lives alone.
Well,
Right?
I suppose
Well,
we
with
should,
a small group, maybe, but certainly not as many as what it sounds like.
suppose we should brace for meeting the brothers Coldrum up ahead, and remember that they. I mean, so what we know about them, like the information that we have about them, which we should probably remember, is that they have a reputation. While they are respected in battle, they have a reputation for deceit or betrayal. There are rumors of badness that swirl around them, but they're rumors only.
Well, I suppose a little bit of caution would not be amiss.
Well, also remember that, or at least bear in mind that if whoever that is that's having a good time down there has won him over, if we are their adversaries in this little trek, it may not go so well for us.
Nah, what's the worst that could happen?
Don't invite questions like that. The
We
universe
heard
tends to
sounds of
answer.
merriment.
Yes, it seems like there's some kind of a party going on.
Sure,
get a sense
go
of how
for
many-
a bit of partying and merriment before we set out into the waste.
And that's the picture, by the way, Brad, is the picture of, that's what the hill looks like. The Breck looks like, from what you can tell.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay.
Bon appetit.
Does it sound like a handful of people? More than
No,
a
more than a handful. I mean, not like a horde of people, but it definitely sounds like more than a few.
Okay.
There's got to be, I mean, I don't know, but more than a few, for sure.
Well, we've come this far. Might as well go up ahead.
Good
All right.
going.
Okay, so the party makes its way.
Unless
Yes.
Unless someone in the party who has the capacity to be a ghost bear wants to go and like peek into the windows or something.
You have to take a nap for that, though.
That's fair. I don't know. It's like it occurs to. Well, no, it's fine. River would not suggest this. I, as a person who likes to see the party use all of their stuff, think it would be cool to peek into the windows and see what's going on. But River would not do that. River would just be a straightforward, let's just go up to the door and announce ourselves kind of person.
And he doesn't look like a ghost bear. He looks like a bear.
Looks like a bear.
And he leaves the track. He looks like a fully grown bear when he's in that state.
But when he talks, he goes, "Ooh." I'm just kidding.
Okay, sure. Yeah, he's not really a singer, but okay. Now but he is planning to use that ability later on.
Cool.
What were you saying,
That's
Brad?
all. Oh God.
What's the limitation on that ability? How often can you use it? Like once per long rest or
Once
something?
per long rest.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Don't waste that
Yeah,
on
that's
this
why I was
stuff.
like, nope.
I thought you could just do it anytime you wanted to like take a nap. But okay.
Have we seen this bear?
No, we haven't. We haven't seen it before. It's a very recent ability that I'm very anxious to see happen.
It's true.
But it's
Not
cool.
that recent.
Two.
Yeah,
that
there
a
was
part?
like a whole
Things
year
ago.
or something in between it, right? Like we had that downtime phase.
Well, then all the more reason to want to see it. But
Exactly.
Bear.
It feels-
bear.
And are we aware of it? Do we know it exists as characters?
He has mentioned it.
mm,
That he's pretty sure he could do it, but he just hasn't had the opportunity to do it yet. He's had the opportunity, just hasn't had the need.
so yeah, shall we go up to this house then?
Yes.
Okay.
Onward.
So you come up to, as you make your way up to this thing, and you can see that there is it reminds you a little bit, actually, River of Roscabel, in that there is this sort of almost kind of like a fence surrounding it, except that Roscabel, this place has, to quote another universe, a lean and hungry look that Roscabel does not possess. There is this sense of perhaps it's its proximity to the wastes, but it feels very much like it's almost clinging there to the hill. And as you get up to the gate, you can see that the gate is locked, and there is, you were able to see because you were below it, but once you climb a little bit, which takes you about maybe 15 minutes to get up to where the gate is, the gate is locked, and there is no one that you can see above or in front of it.
The gate is locked?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. And there's no, like, doorbell?
No, it looks like there's a way. I mean, you could certainly pound on the gate, but there is no doorbell. And you can, now that you're here, you can definitely hear the, like the talking of people for sure.
Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yes.
River will knock on the gate.
Okay. So you pound on the gate, and then you hear, "Oh there! Are ye men or dwarves or orcs?"
Are those the only options? Calls out
And-
River in a kind of
Please
warm-
say it in Orcish.
Yeah.
Orc say, sorry, excuse me.
And you hear, so when you say that, you hear, "The only one that matters in these dark times. Strangers only come at times when they need something, so we take care here."
Well, we are a party of different peoples who are seeking shelter for the night and some wisdom that we have heard may be possessed by the keeper of this home.
And there's a pause, and then you hear the sound of someone moving above you, and as you look up, you can see that someone has emerged to look over the gate down at you. In the torchlight or in the fading light of twilight, you really probably would need torches at this point to look up. There is, you can see the sort of look of a man who is dark-haired, lean, probably younger, not super young, but younger, and with stubble on his chin for a beard, and looks down and says, I see. So indeed it is a party of strangers, perhaps going into the waste. And you have need of the inside here? You wish to speak to my father?
We would very much like to, yes. And it is good to meet you then, son of Scarf. She says this genuinely respectfully. Like,
My name is Skal, and you may enter with care. Be silent and wait for a moment while I open the door. And
we're very grateful for your hospitality. Thank you.
And Skal gets down, below and opens the gate. I should say, by the way, Bolo, that you smell. Thank you for the follow, Salvage Bar. I don't know what to make of that. That's interesting. He is not Snarf. No, he's Skal. I thought about that. I should call it Snarf, and then I realized I would never hear the end of it. You smell, Bolo. There's obviously, again, you're familiar with the sounds of parties and the smells. And you can smell what smells like cooking meat coming from over or drifting through the fence and over the fence nearby. And as the gate creaks open, you can see Skal standing there. He has a crossbow out, basically leveled at you, and there's a guard behind him, apparently, with a sword and shield. And both of them sort of look sternly at you, and he says, "You may enter the Ring of Breck, but you must leave your weapons outside the hall in my care. No harm will come to them while I watch."
Wow. I'm just thinking back to the last time we had to leave our weapons anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty awful.
Is this like a common thing, like to leave your weapons? Like
Oftentimes,
this
especially
has-
in
yeah,
mead
so,
halls,
like-
yes. because of the idea. Now, I
Well,
will
this is a
say,
meat
this,
hall.
like, or the equivalent. It was often considered that way because the last thing you wanted was, you know how like alcohol doesn't really mix with weapons, you know, that whole thing?
Oh, it
like,
mixes very, very well.
yeah,
What are you talking about?
well, if you wish explosions, but if you want to avoid destruction, generally that is the case. However, it is true also that, you know, if you get rid of your weapons, you are also less defended. So you're not obligated to just go along with this if you don't want to. You can decide ways to get around it.
Well,
But
I mean, Inga has shanked a guy with a chicken bone before. I'm sure we will be fine.
that's true.
River looks at the newly
Skull.
looks at Skull, tilts her head a little, looks past him towards the hall and the merriment within, and says, "Has the party arrived ahead of us also left their weapons in your care?"
They have, as all those who are here must leave their weapons with us. We have no wish for more combat to happen within our walls. There is enough we must resist from outside of it.
This is sound logic. And River just kind of looks to her companions to be like, "Are we cool with this?"
Yep.
I was waiting for one
where
of
are
you
we
to do
supposed
the...
to leave them?
and he says, right here, and there's a little, you can see there's a little, like almost like a more than a hut, basically like a little area which is sort of has a room, like a guard post basically inside. And you can see that there is actually a decent sized on the back, kind of, it's not a very large area, but on the back wall is a place where there are just a ton of hanging weapons like swords, bows, knives, daggers, you know, all that kind of stuff back there, axes. And so that's where he sort of opens the door, and you can see there's spots available where you can place your weapons. I had this image of the montage moment in Two Towers movie, right, where they're like, you know, taking off their knives and everything and giving them the axe and stuff. Tani, do you try to pull a? You would not part an old man from his walking stick. Were you
just going to say that?
Yeah, okay.
Except that Tawny's not that old.
No, I know.
Yeah.
No, he's willing to give it up.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
On the
Bola.
weapons that are there, are they of a certain make? Do they look dwarvish make, human make?
I would
Elf.
like you to make an investigation check for me, Bolo.
Can Inga also check? Because,
Yeah, I would also like
yeah.
to. River asked the question, and I feel like that is on her mind also.
Okay, I will allow River to do it. I'm trying to decide if Inga
Investigation
would have
check?
done this on her own. Would have thought of this.
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh, he had advantage on that roll, right? Right?
No, but
Right.
the but okay, I'll wait to see what River does.
Sure.
Uncle Elias, I also want to check. Yeah, exactly. Suddenly, like, chat wanders in from the cold. Yeah, River,
not
you're
very
like,
good.
there are weapons here. I've seen these before. They have sharp edges. But
Like that one. That's a mouse. Right.
exactly.
Plague bearer.
Plague bearer. Bolo, these weapons look to be of mixed type. There are swords and axes, as I say, but almost certainly a number of these are indeed dwarven. There are several dwarven axes and hammers, and you can even see some of the runic symbols which suggest as such. It reminds you, not that you're an expert, but it certainly reminds you a little bit of stuff that you've seen both at the Iron Hills and at the Lonely Mountain in recent weeks.
Is
I'll
there-
I'll
Actually,
use
just-
that out loud. Like, oh, dwarvish make it looks like, and I'll just touch some of the weapons.
Okay. And
River
so you
is
touch one of the
like-
weapons, and Skala's like, no, be careful.
No.
Those aren't yours.
River would literally say, like, don't touch another warrior's weapons without their permission. It's like, and she makes this comparison. It's like touching another musician's instrument, and thinking for a second, or cooking with someone else's pans without their.
Tawny's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skull's like, that is rude and unmentionable. No, he doesn't say that.
So anyway, but River will be like, don't touch them. Although she will say, once Bolo has pointed that out, she will, out of curiosity, look to see if there are any runes that look like the runes on her weapons and on Inga's.
They do appear to have some dwarven runes on them, yes. Whether they're the same type, you'd have to like investigate closer. And Skull and the guard behind seem not so inclined to do so, but they definitely, and Inga, you can even see this even without the check, that these definitely are dwarven weapons. Not all of them, but many of them.
So what the river clearly needs to do is to continue, for Skull's sake, to continue admonishing Bolo and saying, don't go touching people's weapons, like this one and this one and this one and this one. And
Don't touch this.
and every time she does, she just examines it a little bit more closely. It's like, and then she turns to Skull, is like, am I right? Don't do that. And
Skull's
right.
like, it's just like the
That is not what happens.
He pulls out a reed.
River's admonishing Bolo slightly, and she will take great care to. I'm envisioning her axes as having like little loops around the edges, not the edges, around the base of the handle, as she could hang them and stuff.
Sure.
So she does that.
Okay. You all put stone on a rack. You just like hang them.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm supposed to think he just like chills outside on a tree. And yeah, Inga also hangs her axe on the wall, but also hangs her cloak like over it, like not to like completely hide it, but you know, just like because it's a really nice axe. She doesn't want it to get stolen, you know.
Absolutely, you can do that. And Garlic, yes, please remind me, Garlic, at the end of the stream. I would be happy to do that. Yeah, that makes sense. I will mention that there's something is going to be happening. I will do so. There will be a well, I guess I'll mention it now while I'm thinking about it. Next week we will be revealing the title and the cover of the Origins anthology, which has some very good writers that are associated with it. So we're just letting you know. So an anthology and a title, but we are not yet revealing the title or the cover. That will be happening next week. So you'll want, and the and the table of contents as well. So you will definitely want to be here for that next Tuesday.
When you do, make sure you go flourish.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Flourish.
So,
work as well.
Okay. So, so Skull waits as you do this and then brings you to the hall. Inside, the hall is lit by a roaring fire. And Bolo, you now know what this smell is that you smelled outside, because there is a suckling pig turning on a spit above the flames. And as you come in, there's actually some I'm sorry. No,
dead?
It's still living and trying
Just
to
checking.
No. And let's get
do
us
a
some
medicine
music
check.
here.
I mean, this guy is supposed to be like a not nice guy, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
Aw, that's nice music.
Yeah, hold on a second. I wanted to get to... There we go. That's what I'm looking for. And I think... There we go. I was actually looking for a little bit more upbeat than that. Can we get shuffle?
You mentioned more upbeat, and I just immediately in my head I hear "Happy Birthday." No.
That's more like it. Okay, so yes, there is a suckling pig turning on a spit above the flames. There is also a strong smell that all of you can pick up of drink, alcohol. You can definitely smell that powerfully in here. And as you enter, a dozen faces at least turn to watch you. And more than half of those faces are hidden behind bushy dwarf beards and wide, bright grins. Seated in the place of honor at the head of the hall is an older dwarf who seems perhaps a little less merry maybe than the rest. And by his side is a small man, gray-haired, with a pockmarked face and a cloak of fur. And I actually have a picture that I'm going to show you of this person.
Speaking of pictures, like I completely brain farted earlier and last session. Like I can still look at the stream even when I'm not logged in. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good
Yeah.
to know. So,
like, yeah.
This is the person that you actually see, who is at the head of the hall, and he is sitting by sort of sitting in this chair. But as soon as you enter, and you can see the people sort of looking at him, he jumps down from his chair and he comes down to greet you, and he says, "Ah, strangers all, But we've had a group of them today, haven't we, lads? And a couple people sort of murmur their assent, and he says, apparently there is some benefit to being here on the edge of the waste. I can provide whatever remaining hospitality there is. I am Scarf Skulson, Lord of the House of Breck. And he kind of bows, not super low, but he definitely, does the bowing. This actually is an audience, so I'm going to need to ask someone to basically make your introduction of this audience, and you're going to be making a traditions check. Whoever it is that's going to be doing this introduction is going to be doing a traditions check to introduce the group.
I vote River.
I was
Second
actually-
that vote.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I was actually going to say that in the company of so many dwarves that maybe Inga should. I forget what Inga's traditions are. If you have.
Like my stats, or what do you mean?
Wait, am I proficient in traditions? I always forget that. I
don't
roll
know.
it relatively high. I mean, relatively often. But I am proficient in traditions. Huh. Oh well.
Traditions.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, River will can make this roll. If anyone wants to inspire me, that would be.
I will.
Hooray! Thank you.
All right,
That's
Trent.
the only one you guys are getting. I'm saving the other one for Saturday.
That's
So,
fair.
what happened to your inspirations? You're like, I used it on Middle Earth. No, I see who you like more. Like, no, it's not about that.
Rightfully.
I'm the turncoat.
Drafty in you.
I'm the turncoat, right?
Okay, so River will make this this roll. Sorry.
All right, Trendane has inspired River.
Inspiration.
It's because they can't put the river. You can say he is inspired the.
Right, he's inspired the.
That's
Okay.
a 14.
So, okay, what do you actually say to him?
So River also bows to match him and says, oh wait, so sorry, what he said that if there's some benefit to being in the waste, and
He can
anyways.
provide whatever
Yes, whatever
hospitality is left.
River says, so River bows and says, we are very grateful for your kindness and hospitality. We were directed here by Gainar of his house.
Yeah.
We're directed here by Gainar and told that you might have wisdom to share about navigating the waste. And we, she introduces them, says, I am the River, and she introduces them with their titles, I guess. But
2 hours later.
nah. She introduces them briefly and curtly with their titles, as if like this is information that is being shared in the spirit of openness, but not out of any desire for it being deferred to or anything like that. It's like just the same way as saying their names, and says, we see, however, that you have already received a great party, and we would not want to presume further on your hospitality. If you are willing to share your wisdom with us, we can certainly encamp outside of your hall. We would not want to impose further.
Ah, wisdom, I see. Well, I have some limited store of it, I suppose. Of course, I would be happy to put you up in the hall, but as you can see, I am hosting a company of dwarven heroes on this night, and we do have limited room. However, I suppose I can do what I can. If I might ask, what exactly would you seek my counsel for? I have what little store an old man has in these days, but can provide what assistance if I have some information that would be of value to you, I suppose.
Well, we look to navigate the waste as quickly and safely as possible in order to reach. Where is it that we are going in the Withered Heath?
Or
Are we going to Zarachnabar again, specifically, or?
Rankenbar?
Zarankabar is the
Zarankabar?
watchtower where you were supposedly headed, yes.
Okay. So what River says is, well, we're looking to navigate the waste as quickly and safely as possible. We have been there before and know something of its dangers, but there always seem to be fresh ones. And and we have never yet gone in with clear direction or instruction by someone who has lived a considerable time in such close proximity as you have. And so we'd be very grateful for any information that you could share about that.
So he nods and he says, I see. Well, first, before we do anything, I suppose a drink is in order. And he comes over to the table nearby where the smiling dwarves are drinking away. And he pounds on the table a couple times and says, all right, bring forth another pitcher. Our guests have some questions they wish asked, and I have some wisdom to impart to the extent that I can. Please continue. No reason to disrupt your enjoyment on my account. And the dwarves sort of, roar, sort of speaking to each other. But you do notice that the dwarves definitely continue to look over at the four of you, on occasion, as you're standing there. And they bring over, one servant brings over this pitcher of ale and 4 mugs. And the servant fills up the 4 mugs, and then Scarf takes out one of the mugs and hands one to each of you and says, very well. A toast to the success of your endeavors, whatever they may be. And he kind of, raises his mug. The 4 of you, and you 4 can tell me what you want to do, obviously.
I'm going to quote Tony Stark. To peace.
River will raise her mug as well, and just in token of the toast and stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
same.
Same.
Okay. When you have this, give me just 1 second. We're being accosted about lunch.
Probably one of the dwarves or somebody. No, it's probably the skull. Sneaks in, and he quotes Ultron. It's like, I think you're confusing peace with quiet, and it's just.
Oy.
So give me just 1 second.
I'm gonna cut into that bread while that's
Ooh.
Oh, I want some of that. Bread.
Which
Well, those-
reminds me.
God, now I'm homesick. Fantastic.
You are home.
No, but
You're sick.
like
Do
different
something.
country homesick. Though I am gonna be at a wedding next month. in
Ew.
Tokyo, So
Wait,
would
is it
be
good?
you.
Well, is it a good
Well,
wedding or
I
bad?
hope. I hope it's a good one.
Okay.
Whose wedding?
I don't know if it is good because it has not happened yet.
I thought you were
so-
answering Brad when you said you didn't know. I'm like, why are you going to a stranger's wedding? I like cake.
Well, I mean, sometimes people are invited as the +1, right? And they don't actually know
Yeah.
anybody there. But no, I do know the people at that wedding.
And that's it.
Okay. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
I'll have a large Italian on wheat with all the produce, please. Mayo, mustard. Nope. Oh.
we'll get right on that. I don't think this hummus place is going to be able to help you out, but
Oh my God! I'll take a 1-gallon bucket of hummus, please.
hummus is so good. Okay.
1 gallon bucket of hummus.
Oh yeah, that's single serving for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Doesn't that stuff kind of spoil relatively fast?
Like I said, it's single serving for me. Just give me a serving spoon, like the big ladly serving.
yeah, hummus is super delicious. Okay, so all right, Amala's back with the bread.
Right.
So
she needs to show us the cut.
Oh yeah, show us the cut of bread. Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
It's
there you
been
go.
buttered.
Outstanding. It's good stuff.
I hope it was enough butter spread on just the right amount of bread.
Yeah, exactly. Too little butter spread over too much bread. All right. Okay, so all right, so that takes care of that. There's that. Okay. So
The toast.
audience, yes, so we have that. So the toast has been done, and they do that, and he kind of lifts his mug, and the other dwarves do as well, or the dwarves do around him. There are a couple of humans here also that seem to be maybe Scarf's people, and of course Skull, his son, is still there.
Supposed to be outside watching our weapons.
Yeah, at the moment he's not, but he's just inside the door. In fairness, so and so he, as he sort of finishes that, he says, "All right, well, the question then, I suppose, that needs to be asked is, what exactly would be your destination on the other side of the waste? Of course, not many go that way unless they have good reason to, and there's no pleasant way to cross the waste. But knowing where you're headed, and even why, would be helpful in telling you which direction to go. Very dangerous times and places to be attracting the notice of those you don't wish."
What kind of landmarks do we know in what is the Withered Heath?
In the Withered
Is that what
Heath?
it's called?
There are
Aside from
certain
the
mountains
tower.
and valleys. Zarangabar is one of the main kind of actual landmarks that you have. There is, you may remember, the valley where you encountered the trolls when you first came in at the end of Wilderland Adventures. You
This time we
encountered
don't
those
have a
trolls.
pony
And,
to give them.
yeah, and there was basically like this valley, and there were these caves up on the hills, remember? On
Yeah,
the side of the hills. That's also kind of a landmark, but other than that, the Withered Heath is known that because it's where the great dragons breed, and so a lot of the landmarks are like destroyed towers and ruined mountains and, no forests, obviously, or woods or anything like that.
Can I make an insight check before we say anything else? I just want to make an insight check on Scarf.
Sure. What's the insight check intending to do?
Obviously we're thinking about spies and things
Yep.
like that. So, I want to know, is he asking this question of us, in a, to our detriment or not, I guess. Like,
Mhm.
is this information that he is intending to report somewhere, or is he asking?
Just as the dwarves will hear where we're going.
Right.
Right. Is he? Yes, Kira. Is he a cannibal? Does he like to eat people?
What was that story
River
about the
River has
rat
a
dude again?
plausible River has a plausible reason, I think, to send to be heading in that direction. And I think if she feels like suddenly this is not quite as warranted to share this information, then
Sure.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead and make an insight check. You can certainly do that. And also had a gold public, and to those who have come in, thanks for
A
the
lot of new
solid turnout today.
people, right?
Yeah, thanks for the solid turnout. I imagine some of it is thanks to the tweets as well. We are trying to get people to sub to our YouTube channel today and stuff, but
lol.
yeah, you're just like, well,
Oh,
he
great.
seems like a fellow who asks questions about things. One thing that I will say for sure is that you get the sense that he very much is definitely interested in your whereabouts. There's nothing necessarily sinister about it, but you definitely know that he's interested in your whereabouts because, there's a sort of natural suspicion maybe that's built up, from living this close to the waste for as long as he has.
In that case, River will just say, "We're heading in the direction of Zarachnabar."
Okay, now go ahead, Bola. You were going to say something, and I'll come back to that in a minute, River. Go ahead, Bola.
Have any of us? I mean, I know I haven't, but have any other characters been to the Withered
Oh yes.
Yes,
Oh,
Tawny
yes,
and
we
Inga
have.
and the river all have, and it is not pleasant. Bolo, you have certainly heard stories that are the ones that hobbits would use to freeze the blood of hobbit children on a winter's night when they are otherwise super comfortable inside in their homes. The Withered Heath has an evil name, even to creatures coming from the Shire. I mean, you know that much.
And more than that, he would have heard the stories from us about
Yeah, that's
when
true.
we
You
went
would
to the
have-
Withered
right.
Heath and dealt with probably the dragon we're going to go see.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Like
so-
River probably wrote a song about the whole
Probably,
thing, right?
yeah.
Probably.
So me as the player just heard the river say we were going somewhere, but I was already thinking that like Bola was going to be asking about the Withered Heath, and then I don't actually know where you were saying we were going, but just kind of playing into like who Bolo is, he's going to do that anyway. He's going to ask about the Withered Heath.
Okay.
Perhaps giving some things away that he shouldn't be giving away.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I love it. So then if you ask that before the river can say something, like I'd like the idea maybe, but correct me if it's okay if you don't want
I'm
this,
like
Mel.
talking to some other people maybe because she's kind of wrapped up in conversation. So I'm like,
right. So the river's
putting other
asking this,
people
and that's fair. And then in Tawny Inga there, you're there, and then you see that Bolo, you're chatting with a couple of the dwarves. The dwarves, by the way, are quite friendly, Bolo, and they bring you over, and one of them, I'll come back to you in a minute, River, with that thing that you said, as I said, but they bring you over, and they're like, it's one of the little people you are. Well, it's good to see you. I actually have some friends who live out by there. One of them here lives by Bree. Isn't that right? Yes. And so he kind of points to one of them, and he's like, well, Stonebreaker here, he's been responsible for doing a lot of things. His cousin lives out there. Perhaps you know of him. And they're like chatting back and forth.
Yeah.
Very friendly with you. They also seem to be like sort of continually giving you the ale is endless, Bolo. Like they just keep filling up mugs and are willing to keep giving you ale.
He joins in. He enjoys the.
It's good. It's good ale. You know.
And I'll use the notion of like travel, distant lands, and that sort of thing. I'm not saying we're going to the Heath, but I will bring it up. Like, we're near the Waste, and I've had the misfortune of being in the Waste, but I've only heard tales of the Withered Heath, and I wonder what it's like.
It's dangerous up there, it is, lad. You want to be careful when you go up there. That's where the dragons, they spend time with each other. The production of other dragons, that's not a pleasant sight, is it? Oh, no, it's not. Well, I remember once, back in those times, my cousin Fornair was there. Up within the Withered Heath. He had gone up there. He thought to build himself a mine. A mine, he called it. Well, you can imagine what happened when he got up there, and the dragon discovered him. Cold, and he was. Cold as stone. It hadn't gotten its fire, you see. And it slithered into the mine, found his way, and, Fornair turned white as a sheet and ran straight from there all the way back down to the Lonely Mountain and then east to the Iron Hills. They say he didn't stop running the whole way, but he never really get the color back in his skin or in his hair. Just frightened to death about it he was. It's not a pleasant sight, my lad. Why would you be going up to the Withered Heath anyway? There's nothing to be found up there, except perhaps dragons and treasure, eh? And he kind of pokes you, what do you think about that? And a couple of others, oh yeah, that's right.
He's starting to have second thoughts about where this is headed, and he just says, "Oh, I've traveled quite far, but have not been there. I'm just wondering, what it's like. I don't know that I want to go there."
Well, but I mean, if you don't want to go there, why are you traveling there? Perhaps this is the last place you could be where there's good civilized folk. If I were you and I wasn't perhaps traveling on other business, I'd be tempted to head west and perhaps find a way with some good adventurers back to your own lands, or perhaps back down to the Lonely Mountain and back to some pleasant fields and farms. It's only for doughty warriors that you want people to be going up there.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe I should be heading back home at some point. I'll have to think about that. And I clink his glass and drink and just kind of avoid the subject.
And you notice that as you do that, the couple of the other dwarves join in and are speaking to you, and you hear at several occasions. Actually, first of all, you hear nothing because apparently my tavern music stopped. Let's go music.
Everyone's leaning over to hear what we're saying. The music
Exactly. There we go. Okay. And a few others come in, and they first they just ask you stories. They talk about they've heard the story of Bilbo, so they ask you several questions if you know about Bilbo the Hobbit, and then the discussion turns to Bilbo and the dragon, and one of them says, "Well, I heard tell that you never would have defeated Smaug if it wasn't for Bilbo. The hobbits, the halflings, well, they have a way with these things." You're the kind of person that might be useful for something like this, traveling with these other warriors of yours. Come now, perhaps they're wanting you to perhaps help them gather some information about dragons. I imagine you could sneak in and not be seen by anyone, isn't that right? And the other one's like, "Oh, I'm sure that's right. The halflings are very stealthy."
Well, I don't know about all that. What Bilbo did, and he would say so himself. I don't think he would take much credit for what happened there. That was Bard and his exploits.
Aye, don't forget the dwarves in that, though, lad. Remember, if it wasn't for Dane, King Dane, and they all sort of, King Dane, they all kind of, raise their mugs and drink. If it wasn't for King Dane, well, perhaps the whole business after the dragon wouldn't have been ended anyway. That was a close thing. Dividing the treasure of the dragon would have been a difficult thing. It's a good thing that all ended up back in the hands of dwarves. Certainly, we wouldn't want any disagreements in these days, would we, lads? No. And
Inga wisely keeps her mouth shut at that.
Yeah, Inga, you and
Ready
Tawny
to
both
start
now
shit,
can
but
hear.
Not doing it.
Yeah, you and Tawny can both hear the chatter happening, the discussion happening with Bolo. I'm going to come to the river in a minute, but are you, Inga and Tawny, staying with River, or are you going down with Bolo or no?
Inga would have found a free spot to sit and also have a drink, have a snack.
Next to Bolo?
Sure.
Okay. Tawny, what about you?
Tawny's kind of halfway between the two things, and he's not quite trying to follow each conversation, but he's just kind of marking specific, they're really buttering Bolo up, no pun intended, and then also listening to the other conversation. But when they raise a toast to King Dane, he does as well.
Okay.
He joins in that.
Yeah, Inga too.
All right.
By
River,
the way, has any of the dwarves looked or expressed looked like or has expressed that they might recognize Inga?
Yes,
not in the sense of.
Yes, I was about to say that. When you sit down and you hear sort of and they hear this introduction and everything, and it's clear that you are Inga, a couple of them look at you, and you can tell you do not necessarily recognize these people, Inga, but they obviously know your name. Your name carries some weight. And I would actually like you, Inga, to make an insight check for me, please.
Sure.
Our Doughy Warriors.
Is it going through? Oh, there it is. I was oh no, I fumbled, but no, that was River's roll earlier. Nope, that's a 21. 21. That's not a fumble.
I would say, Inga, that when you sit down, whereas Bolo was just there kind of, chatting him up and, talking to him and gathering information or whatever. When you sit down next to them and clearly you seem to be taking an interest in their conversation, and when a couple of them hear the name of Inga, there's no question that a few of them kind of, the smiles drop a bit. I mean, that is to say, they become more reserved, right? They were talking with Bolo and just blah, 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 blah. But when they hear your name, they don't clam up exactly, but they definitely become a little more reserved in their conversation.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, we have
they're watching what they're saying.
Somebody of status joining us. I see.
Exactly.
Like Rudinell said, crap, it's royalty.
Yep, exactly.
Royalty. Crap, it's somebody who knows royalty.
It's the Roro as opposed to the Fofo.
The Roro. No.
Or the no-no.
You're the no-no, yeah. Okay, and then I have to wait for a second.
Gentry.
I have to wait for a second before Amal gets back. So, Tawny, you're listening to both. Tani, you're sort of paying attention to both groups. You said, is there anything in particular that you're focusing more on between either group, or I'm just curious?
Well, not having heard Amal's side of the conversation yet, I can't really answer that. But one thing I will say is that he is kind of keeping himself turned more toward the dwarf group, at least long enough for one of them to clock the dwarf friend rune on his armor.
Okay.
Because of what it
to want to be able to reveal. Yep.
What it confers.
I am going to. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that in a minute. Okay, let's start with the River first. So River, when you say that thing about Zarankenbar, there's a moment where there's a little bit of a hush just over the people that heard you that were close enough to hear it, and then and you see Scarf's kind of eyes widen slightly. I need you to make an insight check again, please.
Well, let's see if I've become more insightful since the...
Amal, remember? Roll high.
Oh, God. I always forget.
Yeah, right?
Forgetting.
That's reasonably high.
Okay.
Wait a second. Yes, that's right. Yes.
So when you mention that name, you can see his eyes widen a little bit. You almost feel like Scarf slightly does two things. Number one, he kind of pulls back from you slightly. And he says, well, that's something which isn't really in control of the civilized people anymore. There's been, well, some problems with that of late, at least over the last several years. You wouldn't want to mess with that tower, I don't think. There's dragons there. You hear his voice shake slightly when he says dragons, River.
Wait, that was the first... Was there a second thing? You said there were two things.
Yes, the second thing is that you see his eyes flicker over to the dwarves for a minute.
Yes. I'm well acquainted with that fact. We have been there before, and I left something very important to me in that tower. And I have long wished to recover it.
And he sort of nods slowly and says, I see. It must be valuable indeed if you're heading your way through the waste and then the withered heath to go to that cursed place. But if it's valuable, I suppose I can understand why you would go. But it is dangerous.
You can see why we would like to spend as little time in the heath as possible.
So you say that, and he kind of nods slowly, you as you're kind of looking at him, you notice that there's a few people kind of around the hall. I'm going to come back to Tani about this too, that are walking around, and you hear there's also a song, River, coming from somewhere in the hall. It's a song which is being hummed, and as you look over, you think it's maybe a couple of dwarves who are humming the song as they are, it looks like, tending to their boots. They might have just washed their feet or something after coming in from out of the road, and they're tending to their boots. But they're humming this song, which seems potentially familiar to you. I would like you to make a performance check for me, please. You might have heard this before. And then, Tani, I'm going to come to you about what you might be doing.
That's a 16.
Yeah. You've heard this song before. This is a popular song in Dale, actually. It's a song called The Lay of Elston. And it is a song which describes the heroic deeds of Lord Elston. But it's two dwarves that are humming it.
What are the deeds of Lord Elston?
Elston is considered a almost legendary knight. He has freed a lot of the land in the years after the fall of the dragon. Even before the fall of the dragon, he was one of the people that kept, along with Bard, kept Lake Town functional, even under its old master. He was the one who went out and rooted out packs of wolves that were dangerous and fought off several orcs on his own and all that kind of thing.
Are they singing this song? Are they singing it sincerely or derisively?
They were humming it, right?
They're humming,
humming
it.
it?
And you don't, it doesn't, I mean, it seems odd that dwarves would be doing this anyway, and they seem to be sort of, they sort of smile at each other as they're doing it. It's maybe not the nicest smile. While you're pondering that, Tani, now that you've heard a little bit about what the river said, what are you considering doing or thinking?
So he probably wasn't looking when Skull kind of pulled back. So he probably didn't see that. He was looking at the other group and sharing in the toast, but kind of glancing back, like when he says there's dragons there and Amal says, yeah, we've been there. That's kind of when Tawny would turn back like, okay, we're letting all that out then. Okay, fine. But
wait, to be clear, she's introduced to them.
Yeah,
she has said their names, and I think people who know us know that we have been there before. That's not a secret. I think that there's a plausible reason for River in particular to be saying, I left my awesome magic harp there, and I would like to get it back.
Give it to me by Gandalf, and all the dwarves are like, all right, that's coming with us.
But yeah. Just gonna
Yeah, he doesn't like have a disapproving look, but he's just like, okay, noted. We're not, we're definitely. I mean, it's one thing for people to know that. It's another thing for us to kind of be flaunting it in the presence of people that are in direct competition with us to go do this thing. But it's not a disapproving look. He just kind of glances over and notes that.
The one other thing I want to say, which we all know, but I just want to remind the party that, like, they don't know about us. They don't know that we are also looking for this dragon. We know about them, and we know that that is their purpose, but they are presumably also keeping that purpose secret. And they also don't know that we know about Lord Elston, who is also on this, like, same journey. And it is actually very disturbing to River. Like, if Tawny is noticing anything about River, it is that, like, she has kind of, like, she will definitely, like, have noticed that song and kept a very neutral face while noticing it. Yeah.
Do we know, obviously King Dane told us that there were multiple groups going. Did he tell the first and second groups that there would be others going?
You would guess not. It was sort of a measure of his respect for you. So
he
you
told
would
us
guess
that
not.
he did not tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what he told you. But I mean, like, you would guess, and you assume that he's being true to his word. So yeah. You would guess not.
But he's still the one that sent them.
Yes.
Yeah.
He just didn't tell us, or didn't tell them that we were going to.
Right.
Yeah. And you remember that Scrafira and Grace Stroke were also like, oh, I guess he did, as we suspected, Dane sent other people.
Right.
But so just want to kind of keep that out there. Like, I think keeping our purpose close to the chest is worth doing, especially since Gainar is being all gum flappy about it. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Tawny will do this. Tawny will kind of figure out who's cooking the pig, and who's basically in charge of tending it and whatnot. And with his pouch of various spices and whatnot that he carries with him, he will kind of offer his help and at some point while he's adding like maybe some of his honey, drizzling it across the pig and whatnot, and he'd just be like, he'll kind of glance over at each individual character, including Bolo, even though he knows Bolo wasn't there. But he'll kind of make some side comment about, it'll be interesting to see if those trolls have improved their cooking at all, and just kind of drizzle the honey across it.
So,
well, this time around they can't try and cook my horse, can they?
Right.
Like that's what Bing
Try.
actually says.
I would like you to make Tawny a lore check for me, please, as you're doing this, because you're kind of looking at the foodstuffs and the like.
I know, like, people can't see this because it's out of frame, but I have a very cuddly cat on my lip right now.
Oh, that's cool.
Is her name Lorelei?
Yeah.
I have a very sleepy, fluffy circle.
12.
That's
Oh.
out of frame also.
So when you as you're sort of in the process of doing that, you say those things you said, Tawny, and you're drizzling this stuff. You notice also that one of the dwarves, now most people are eating from like battered metal plates or wooden plates, but you notice that one of the dwarves is eating from a fine silver plate. And it's a fine silver plate that bears on it, that's sort of like around the outer rim of it, the arms of Dale. Which is not, I mean, you don't know where a dwarf would get a treasure like this. Like, it's not, and
Grave robbery.
so you recall such items were sometimes given as gifts by King Bard to trusted knights and the like. But yes.
This is the system we're playing, by the way.
Yes.
Since Salvage asked what RPG system.
For a minute I was like, why am I seeing this? I was just like, yes, I know.
You know.
Also, hi, Salvage Bar.
And further information, this is basically an add-on for D&D 5th edition. It's more or less the same rules, but like...
Obviously, we're not running around casting fireball. Yeah.
And there are some changes in terms of shadow rules, journeys, and audiences and stuff like that. But yes.
But like the same base rules.
Yep.
Basically.
So anyway, yeah, Tawny, that strikes you. And Inga, as you're sitting there with Bolo, talking to them, and they're, chatting about different, things that are happening and about the sort of world around you, I'd like you to make a perception check, please.
Perception. I can do that. Maybe.
Yes, you can.
I forgot to roll high again. Wait.
I was just about to say it, too.
Well, you said too late. It's your fault now.
Yes, it is.
You as you're drinking, something seems odd about the way that the dwarves are drinking, but you can't really make it out. They seem, as I said, extremely friendly. They're slightly more reserved with you around, but still, chatting with you about dwarven affairs. A couple of them are asking about, building trade routes. Yeah, building trade routes. Some of it's like trade routes between Iron Hills and Erebor, how we need to increase trade routes, and the problem is the taxes are too high, and stuff like that, like that kind of thing. And about goblin attacks and how you deal with goblin attacks and so forth. And as you're doing that, something strikes
Inga
you as
shares
little.
like some stories about her smashing in skulls, or goblin skulls.
Oh, that's a good. They're very excited about that. They're like, there was a time I killed 2 of them, and the one barely was praying for his life while I was knocking skulls with the other. Well, that's the kind of business that we, and all that sort of thing. So they're doing all of this as this is kind of going along. River, while you're having this discussion and you're continuing to chat with Scarf, you can see that Scarf is, more and more keeps turning things back to kind of this subject of, in particular, the dragon, and says, or dragons, and says, there's rumors that some of the great worms have gone back to Zarankanbar, and perhaps even spend their time there. I wonder if that's something which troubles you. Obviously, something important for you to find, valuable, that's good to know, but I wonder what would happen if the dragon itself returned.
Sorry. Just I noticed that Brad's shirt suddenly says Arv.
It's true.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Hey, listen.
Aww.
Very kind of you. That's my
Nice.
it's my swag. Yeah.
Yep. That is
merch.
delightful.
That's right. Arv merch. I do have some.
River says, and like she says this very seriously. Like she, like her look sort of darkens a little and goes inward, and she says, the time spent in the waste and the weight of that darkness on my heart is far more upsetting and frightening and disturbing to me than the thought of any worm. There is that in the world which we have seen in our travels, a shadow, a terrible darkness in its wake that puts a great many things in perspective, shall we say.
And oh, sorry.
No, and basically says, and it is worth everything to me to resist and fight that darkness. And that is why I hope that you can give us some guidance.
And he sort of nods slowly and he says, "Ah, yes. Cursed it is, so they say. The lands above there. It is not a place anyone would want to spend time. Even with all the time I've spent in the waste, going up there into the withered heath, that was a whole other matter. And I suppose there was little else to be done other than find one's way through somehow. I would like Bolo, please, to make a perception check for me.
Perception. Bloop.
16.
So there's plenty of Bolo. There of course is plenty of ale, but you notice as you're talking with them that a lot of these dwarves are not drinking heavily. You know, a couple of them are making a big show, big smiles on their faces, and kind of clapping you in the back and so on. But you notice that a lot of the ale in their mugs has not dipped appreciably. It's as if they are sipping their drinks rather than drinking them.
And just out of curiosity, are they making sure to fill our mugs regularly, quickly? Yeah.
No, what Inga would have also been sipping. Like, she's like very wary of these guys.
Okay. Bolo not.
Yeah, up to that point, Bolo probably would have been drinking, like not thinking about it, just sort of drinking, thinking they were drinking along with him.
And Inga would have been like, "Hey, Bolo, why don't you eat something in between? You're a pretty small guy, like probably
Yes,
can't
but I
stomach
can
all
handle
that
my
much."
drink.
River has not actually
shut
done
up.
anything.
I'm
River
fine.
had
I don't know
lifted
anything
her-
about hobbits.
Yeah. River had lifted her mug in a toast, but had actually not drunk anything.
Okay.
So Bolo's a little bit tipsy at this point, but he will, after sort of noticing that, slow down. It'll probably sidle over to Tani at some point, and mention what he noticed. Maybe a little too loudly. I'm not sure.
Hey, guess what?
Come here. Right next to a dwarf.
Tani, these guys are very suspicious.
I know we're all taller than you, but that's a dwarf. I'm over here.
Right, he says it right to the dwarf. Hey, Toddy. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I could totally see that happening though.
Sorry, you looked really tall for a second there.
It's the beard.
I'm going to go talk about my suspicions to the other Toddy.
How many of you are there in here?
Okay, you're able to make your way over to Tawny.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And,
So I tell Tony what I saw.
and Tawny, listening to this, is like,
No, Basil would be a terrible idea with this.
but he kind of nudges him in a subtle way that's like, okay, I hear you. But he says, no, Basil wouldn't work with this.
You also notice, by the way, Tawny, at this point, that the person that you've been working with, who's been with the seasoning and all that stuff, that the person who has been doing this has been kind of listening to you. It's one of the serving girls here, has been listening to you, but seems quite preoccupied. You don't know what yet. You'd have to tell me if you wanted to press further, but like is sort of like, but is not clearly all there focused on what you're talking about.
Good, then she won't notice that he's been slipping valerian into everything, and these people are going to sleep in.
They're going to sleep in one way or the other.
Wait, that's what Valerian does?
Yeah, makes you sleepy.
Well, yeah, but like, makes you sleep in?
It relaxes you so that you sleep deeply.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that I know.
Um,
So if you were sleeping very deeply, you might sleep later than you intended.
Right.
Yeah, I suppose.
you sleep exactly the same amount of time, but just completely deeply, and then just bing, like 8 o'clock, you're ready to go.
Right.
God, imagine. That would be so nice. I
River,
wish
I'm going to
looked like
ask
that.
you here to make our final audience check. So I'm going to have
Roll
you
high.
Yeah, we're going to think about some and I want you in doing this to tell me the main thing that you want to get across with the audience. Like it basically is, so you have a couple of options. I want us to stay in this hall. Will you put us up? I want you to tell us the best route to get to Zarankenbar, that kind of thing. Like just be thinking about a particular goal question. I know you had a few possible ones, but so.
No, it was she literally said at the beginning, like, we don't want to impose on your hospitality. Really what we just want is your guidance and directions through the waste. So that is the main thing. Because I think we all are aware of the fact that we could camp outside.
Mm-hmm.
We could and we could do that with Inga and stuff. We don't need to sleep here. River, having seen what she has seen, River is actually quite keen now not to sleep here.
Mm-hmm.
And would actually like to reconvene with the party and talk about her suspicions.
Okay.
But a thing that she is curious about, but is not going to press. But if, like, I don't know, she failed that first insight check, and I've kind of been proceeding on that basis and stuff.
Yes.
But something that I and she are both very interested in knowing is whether Scarf feels besieged by these dwarves, or if he is very much on their side. So,
yes. So I got you. So then, let me have you make. I'm gonna have you make this audience check then for wisdom.
Okay.
And I'm going to be adding a couple of things in my head, based upon different things that I can't talk about.
Well, you could.
I couldn't do that. Why someone was... Okay, so hello, Gamezi. Okay, so yes, so I'm
phone is
gonna have
ringing?
you. Yeah, it's my my
What a
phone.
pleasant
Call me.
aquatic sort of sound.
Okay,
He
so
uses a landline.
yeah, I do. I know. I'm one of those weird. I mean, it's a landline done with the internet still, but okay. So I would like you to make that final wisdom check, please, for me.
Okay. I'm gonna do it. If anyone in the chat wants to inspire, I know I've been sort of greedy with inspirations, so
Good reason.
And thank
But,
you for Salvage Bar for gifting a sub to Live Suing. Salvage Bar just
Aw.
arrived. Thank you, Salvage Bar.
Nice.
That's
That's
very kind of
lovely.
you. Also, hi, Live Suing. Thank you so much, Salvage Bar. Thank you. Okay, and we're up to 955, by the way, subscribers on YouTube.
Ooh,
45
very
away.
nice.
45 away. Okay,
And I think, what was it? Did you say if we got to 960, something cool would
I would
happen?
give you, that's right. If we get to 960 YouTube subs, something very cool will happen. We only have a couple of minutes left to do it.
nothing to subscribe to a YouTube channel.
That's right.
That's right.
$0.
And after
And it brings you a great deal.
Yeah,
of...
no. That's not true. You cannot do that.
Fortunately, she was way far away from the microphone and we didn't hear anything.
Exactly.
What?
None of that.
Oh.
None of that. Never mind. Never mind.
Oh. Okay, so anyway, so going once for inspiration, going twice for inspiration. If anyone wants to inspire the river in this role to conclude the audience, that would be cool. If not, all good. Boing, boing, boing. Sorry, where's my sheet? Here we go. Khair inshallah. Oh wait, so this is just a straight click on wisdom? Did you say?
It's not listening.
Oh, never mind. He said wisdom, but I don't know if that's just clicking on wisdom or if it was something else.
Why, yes, Big Boss SNK. It is indeed free to sub to https.
Okay, yes, it was straight up wisdom. What was that?
Oh, okay. Great.
/ www.youtube.com/c/Arvin
That's right. Actually, I don't know why the C is there. It's not even necessarily needed.
Advantage would be great on this, but alas, I think that is a
956.
13.
Okay. So let's see. 13. Okay, carry the 1. Okay. Okay. All right. So, he kind of, as you're speaking to him, he kind of nods and he says, and also you notice that he's gotten a little bit tipsy himself, maybe, River, as time has gone along, and so he's like, all right, well, I can see that you won't be dissuaded, and so I'll provide whatever help I can. It's important to do these things anyway, and to be clear about things, and to make sure that everyone knows what's going on. You know, there's things that matter to people, he says. And he kind of, so he's speaking like in this very kind of semi, broken way or something like that. He says, well, one thing that'll help you in getting across the waste is if you buy a horse. That's one thing that will make things faster for you. I happen to have an excellent one just made available to me. Inga, I need you to make a insight check, please. Bolo, you too, actually.
No.
I know exactly what is happening. We should all know exactly what is happening.
Insight, you said?
Yes, please.
Oh God.
Bolo,
Looking
you're
at the
like,
bottom of my mug.
this ale is such
It's
good ale.
excellent.
And it's
Wait,
ale
we are
that's...
drinking ale. You said this is a mead hall. I thought we were drinking mead.
No, they're giving
Nice
you ale.
hot mead.
That's the real
Oh,
real
boo.
deception, is the fact that it's mead
To
all.
be fair, no, mead is much stronger than ale.
Yeah,
true.
but also much yummier. Like infinitely
Which
yummier.
would make you much drunker, because it goes down easier.
Yeah, but like mead halls.
Yeah, it's like, but this thing. So, Bolo, you're just like, wow, this is the things that you want to know. But Inga, you can tell a little bit, I think, that when he says this thing about a horse, a couple of the dwarves kind of like, sort of, put their mugs down and kind of like look up, and you can see the smiles drop a little further. And he says, isn't that right? Don't you think it's important that we give them what we can? I think if you go to the stable outside, you might find one. And he sort of points unsteadily and says, that's right, out that way you'll find it. And one of the dwarves, the older dwarf, the one who was standing next to him, who has been silent this whole time, River, says, perhaps you should keep your mouth shut, Scarf. And Scarf says, why? Why exactly do I have anything that I would want to keep from letting them know about? Wouldn't you say? And he looks at him and says, wouldn't you say this, Coldry? It's perhaps the reason they should be there. And Coldry sort of, his face darkens, and he says, you're told to keep quiet. Apparently you can't even do that, Scarf. I think you better ask these people to be on their way, don't you? And all of a sudden, you can see that the music, you can hear that the music has stopped. And everyone is sort of just standing and kind of staring. And Tani, for the first time, as you look into the corner of the room, you can see that one of the serving girls, you were working with one of them, one of the serving girls is on her hands and knees and is trying to clearly, with a rather frantic expression on her face, scrub something out. So the music stops, everyone stares, and she's like, shh, 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 shh. She's trying to scrub out a dark crimson stain from the floor that looks awfully familiar to you. You've seen it before. Looks like blood. And as...
The courtesy of your hall... No.
Yes, exactly. And so there is just a dead, almost deadly silence. And you can see Scarf kind of swaying slightly unsteadily on his feet. And then Coldry says, apparently the lord of the house needs some help. You'll be asked to leave now. And Inga, you don't need to check, or Bolo, to know that the temperature in the room has dropped several degrees, so to speak.
Is what's his name? The son, is he still in the room?
No, he's now outside.
Okay. One last question, I think.
Sure.
Can we tell I mean, we saw weapons in there. Can we tell at a glance if the people in here are armed?
It does not appear that they're obviously armed.
Uh-huh.
Not obviously, but you don't know for sure unless you started doing more of a determined check.
Yeah, we're not patting anyone down.
Yeah,
here.
Exactly. Metal
the stain,
detector.
Is it fresh blood or is it dried blood?
It can't be that it can't be that old because it looks as if the brush itself is a little tinted red from the work.
She muttering out damn spot over and over again?
Yes, over and over again.
Right.
She said, screw your courage to the sticking place, they said. No. So they're all staring at you.
And there are 12 people in this room?
There are at least 8 dwarves.
Yeah.
And
Who
then a
for
few
each of
certain
us?
people.
Did you say so? Just as recapping from the beginning here, the so 8 dwarves. You said there are some men. Was that just
couple of men?
Scarf's
That's right,
people,
but they seem
or-
like Scarf's people. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
And of
Gotcha.
course, a couple of serving people, a couple of men, a couple of women.
Got it. Okay.
And again,
was it
Scarf
that was
hasn't said
asking
anything.
us?
Go ahead, Bella.
Who was it that was asking us to leave?
Coldry, the dwarf.
Okay.
Oh man. Okay. So.
Are we fighting,
I want to do
or-
something really dramatic.
Do it. Do
But
it.
it's such a stupid thing to do. Oh God, why is she gonna do this?
Do it.
She's
Hello,
just really
epic
angry.
mutton chops, as we're having suckling pig on the...
Hi, Epic Button Chops.
Do it.
So
Do it now.
Do it.
River is going to. Okay, so Okay, let me think about how I want to do this. In fact, okay, River is going to do this.
Okay.
So she is going to sorry, I just like it's such a stupid thing.
I'm going to
Just
push
do
you a
it.
little bit on this because you're running out of time. I want you to make a decision faster. I don't want you to plan this out too much.
I know. I don't want to. It's really not the planning. It's really the thinking of like, what would River do?
Well, what did
in this
River
moment?
actually do? Yeah.
Yeah. Because
When in doubt, do whichever sounds the most fun.
I'm waiting for Bolo to be like, for the Shire, and just like vault the table, and you're just like, wait, what?
well, so this is the thing, right? Like the okay, River has a very clear idea of what has happened here, and a very clear idea of like what would be best for their mission, which would be to leave right now and go. But there is a person here clearly in danger from this group, and it would absolutely poison her soul if she turned her back on that. And so she absolutely cannot do that, despite the fact that probably it would be the smart move, and she cannot deal with that. So what she's going to do instead is look at Culdry, look at her companions, and she's going to unsling her harp from her back, which she has with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to say, yes, we should be on our way. In fact, I think that my companions should probably, go ahead, and gesture towards them, towards the door as she's setting her harp on the table, essentially, because it's a small harp. You can usually sling it like this and stuff, but she's setting it there, raises a leg, and she says, but before we go, I just, there's a song I'd like to play for this company. You've all been so warm and companionable to us, and I just feel like it would be meet to share this song with the company before we go. And she's going to strike a very dramatic opening chord, do some arpeggios to warm up. Also, incidentally, giving, hopefully, ample time to Tawny and Inga and Bolo to, like, back towards the door if they want to, as they should be going. But she's going to start playing the song about Lord Elston that was...
The two dwarves were humming.
That the two dwarves were humming. And she's going to raise her voice very high and very loud. And she's going to start playing the song. But as she's playing the song, there is another song that is very well known about a man who comes seeking hospitality in a den of thieves, and they fall upon him in the night and kill him. And she, so even though the song is the Lord Elston song that is very famous, there's a turn that starts coming, a key change when it starts to resolve into that song instead. And she is playing this looking at Culdry the whole time, which she can do.
So Culdry just sort of, his look gets more and more and more dour, and when that last note is hit, and it's almost I would say maybe River, almost a discordant, couple of notes that kind of ring out across the hall. There is a moment again of ultra just deadly silence, and then from one side of the room you hear a shriek, and Tawny, right next to you, the serving girl who you've been helping with, grabs a pan full of sizzling bacon fat and, screaming, throws it into the face of the nearest dwarf.
That bitch took my idea.
All hell breaks loose, and that's where we're going to end our session for today. So, We have got the breaking of fellowship and hospitality. We got some Macbeth going on here. We got some nice, Amal, by the way. Nice. Very good. And I should say, by the way, that some of this is determined based upon audience checks and things like that as time was going on. So this could have gone in multiple different directions, some of which would involve you having very little suspicion, some of which would have you having lots of suspicion. And you were sort of in the somewhat suspicious category based upon a variety of things that you folks did. So it's going to be some fun in our next session as you have to take on a bunch of, well, we're going to find out. These dwarves.
What a waste of good bacon.
No, Fox, bad Fox, bad
crispy
What?
bacon.
Wow.
Wow, live stream,
Wow.
really? Wow,
It's really amazing.
I look forward to hearing about more from Crispy Bacon Face. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was this
An
was
origin story.
It's origin story. It's right, the villain story. This is great though. I actually was really enjoying some of the tension building up as all of you were like the class. It really is very much like walking into Theoden's hall and you're just sort of like looking around at all of the different people. I will start as per usual on the bottom of the column. I'll actually move to cams only here, and we'll work the way up in our normal direction. So Mal, very nice ending gambit there, because in some ways it was designed to set up. Every one of you individually had noticed aspects of suspicion, but this was something that could kind of set up, sort of as a warning. Now the time has come to prepare for these deceitful bastards. You know, like that kind of thing. Like something that would make sense, right? So that's going to be good stuff to see what happens. And so that was very nice at the end. And of course, you had other moments where even your feeling about going into the waste, there is something about the area around which you're set that also kind of creates this sense of just like dour darkness about all of it. So anyway, I liked seeing how that was navigated, and I cannot wait to see how the river's going to handle things, because you folks don't have weapons either, and are going to have to see how that all goes down.
She does have her belt dagger.
She does have that. So we will see how that goes. How did you feel about today's...
How much damage does a hobbit do? Well,
particularly a drunken one.
they probably didn't take his pan.
Pan first, Polo. Pan first. Yeah, like it.
Well, there's the bacon pan, which I can grab. And
True.
And it's hot.
I love weapons of improvised weapons. Hot. How did you feel about today's session, Mal? Where will the fine folks find you next?
I loved it. I loved it. It was very good. I mean, you know, we were set up to be suspicious of these people long before encountering them. So it is neat to kind of see the situation. But I feel bad for poor Lord Elston. Especially because he is allegedly very careful. But oh well.
Yeah.
But the thing that I am confused by and uncertain about is just like, why, if that situation had taken place, Scarf's son, whose name will not stick in my head,
Skull.
Skrull. I keep wanting to say
Skull, not Skrull. Skull,
well, you
like
see,
SKAL.
it's
Oh,
Scarfson,
Skull.
and it's
Okay.
Skull Scarfson.
So Scal. So okay, Skull.
Yeah, Skull. Yeah, like Scald, but
son
no
of
D.
Scarf.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skull Scarfson. So, why he would be keen on like removing our weapons when we could potentially be a posse of like, you know, helping to liberate the mead hall. But
of course, we don't know what the Skullsons are, how invested in this they are either, right?
yeah, that's true. So, but you know, there are many tensions.
Yes.
So yeah, exciting times. But I want to say there is I was tense and mixing up my ballads slightly. I think there is an even better ballad to have like woven into the Lord Elston one, which is more of a sort of Bonnie Swans one, where there's someone gets turned into a harp, and then the harp tells the song of its own murder, essentially. So yeah.
Wow.
I'm working on a
Great
story
song.
about that right now.
The Bonnie Swans.
The Bonnie Swans, or the Cruel Sister. And the story, I hate the story. The story is actually one that I'm working on a retelling of to fix it. Because the story is about there's an older sister and a younger sister, and they're being courted by the same man who is never called into question in this song, but whatever. The elder ends up pushing the younger sister into a river to drown her so that she can marry this dude, which is extremely dumb. And then the sister who is pushed into the river goes through a series of transformations. She is turned into a swan, and then she's seen by Miller's daughter, who goes, "Look, there swims a swan who's very like a gentlewoman." She washes up on the shore and she turns back into a drowned woman, and then a harper comes by and he's like, "A dead woman, the perfect materials for a harp." And he turns her into a harp and he makes harp strings of her
Wow.
hair and harp pegs of her fingers.
This is a
And
new
he
one
makes
on
a
me.
harp of her breastbone. And then the harp, he sets it on a stone and the harp begins to play alone. And then he takes that harp to the hall where the wedding is happening between the sister and the man, and the harp tells the story of having been murdered by her sister and stuff. So
I need myself a harp like that. That sounds like exactly like the type of decoration that I would want in my house.
So yeah, I can totally see like Lord Elston, was a noble fair who blah blah blah, etc. They made a harp of his golden hair, etc. And then it began to play alone. Yeah. So anyway, grim stuff. Yeah. But yeah, looking forward to next time. And yeah, where people can see me, I guess here next time. Otherwise, do find me at my website, amanilmuhtar.com, and on Twitter, where I spend too much time. Everyone should watch Severance, which is an amazing TV show on Apple TV. It is super brilliant. Everyone should watch it. It's perfect. And that's probably it. But no, I want to say I loved so many things about today's session. Like I feel like everyone got cool character moments and stuff, and it was really, really neat. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna let this poor cat out who's meowing.
Okay, that's good stuff. Thank you, Amal. Good stuff as well from I think I usually do Terry next. So Tari, good stuff today as well. Obviously, first of all, a very lovely moment at the beginning. The flashback sequence was really nice. And, really kind of, again, building the sort of understanding of the dwarves, Inga's feeling about the connection to the people and who she owes. And you got real sense of weight, a burden that Inga feels about this. And that was, I think, a lovely moment to be able to see. And then, figuring out stuff about these dwarves that are, of course, not the most reputable, and what they are all going to be involved with. And I was thinking a little bit about the idea that what the enemy, in quotes, capital E enemy, what the Shadow most wants is for the forces of otherwise good to be, bickering and sort of at each other's throats. And that's one of the themes of this aspect of the campaign, has been trying to get people to not do that. And here you have this group of dwarves that may perhaps not mean anyone well, and what that's going to mean for Inga's, connection to all of that. So
wait, the enemy wants the forces of good to bicker amongst each other. That sounds a bit too much like real world politics.
Yeah, pretty much, as Tolkien knew quite well, right, in the process of it. But it was some very good and varied moments, and Terry will have a chance to, Inga will have a chance to do some serious work in a mead hall, especially a mead hall that serves ale, because these people.
Yeah.
How did you feel about today's session? Where will the lovely folks find you next?
This was awesome. Like, I very much enjoyed that. I was a bit worried at the beginning because, I usually take some time to get into the flow of the game, but I think I did okay.
Yeah.
Starting off immediately with an Inga moment. So yeah, that was nice. It was really nice. And yeah, looking forward to a good old drunken brawl, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
and using Bolo as an improvised weapon.
Yes. No, she's gonna dual wield on one hand Bolo, on the other one the pig.
Pig Bolo.
At least make sure my helm is on before you start smacking
really.
with me.
So yeah, that's I'm really looking forward to that. Goddamn cliffhangers. At least this time around, not a literal cliffhanger with Inga hanging off something.
True.
That was the thing, right? Quite often, especially at the beginning of the campaign, Inga dangling off of things. Also, last time, I think the last time that happened, she was actually hanging off the Rankin bar. The last time we had a
I think that's right.
right?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you had to climb around on there for reasons that I don't remember.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to what comes after.
Because there were too many orcs in the path to the door, so you went around to come in from the outside.
Sounds about right. I really don't recall.
Then you
I
got
just
in, you
remember
went up
her
to the,
climbing at the rope being too short and stuff like that. So yeah, people can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Tumblr at Taritoons, Taritoons, where I post my art on occasion. Like I draw cartoons and heraldry stuff and things, character designs, whatnot, and occasionally other things. So yeah, give me a follow. Also, do remember to sub to Arv's YouTube channel if you have not already.
Thank you. Yes, we are up to 956. We're only 44 away. Thank you for the follow, by the way, Epic Mutton Chops. Yeah, anyone who's followed, please sub over on the YouTube channel. It's free to do that. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We are super close. We are only 44 away, so let's continue to move forward and do so.
It is the actual type of free, not the type of free where you have to punch in your credit card
Exactly.
information.
It's just
For
you need
some
to be a
reason.
person with an email address, but and
Yes.
that sort of thing. So, but yes.
So yeah, do that.
Thank you, Tari, and definitely Tari, you will see back here. Hopefully for that, and hopefully we'll also get in. We are hoping to get our game book illustration stream in next month as well, if all goes well. Next month. Say again.
Next week is my birthday.
No, not next
So
week.
I'm
That's
not-
right. And that's right. Happy birthday a week ahead of
No,
time.
you can't. That's bad luck.
What? No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It
What?
is bad luck to wish somebody a happy birthday ahead of time.
It's in stream parlance, it's time has no meaning. So it's fine for for birthdays to happen. All right. Well, I will
I'm gonna have a bad birthday. because of
consider my wish not as existing until that day, and then it will be happy birthday on the day. Until then, happy
Happy
on birthday,
unbirthday,
as
yeah.
Twitch says. Thank you, Tari. Always a pleasure. Also, a pleasure to have Brad with us with Bolo. And Bolo, you got a chance. I did love that image of Bolo sort of chatting up the dwarves and kind of like not putting two and two together until being like, wait a minute, like things starting to dawn, like I'm not sure. And then of course Bolo, who may be the only one who actually has a semi-functional weapon close to hand with flank seer maybe. We'll see how Bolo manages things, or maybe just sneak under the table. I don't know exactly how Bolo's going to handle it, but it was interesting to see how that all kind of played out, and I'm very curious to see how Bolo's going to manage things next session. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Yeah, this is cool. I like that we had this the contrast between the last session and this session. Last time was like a breather. It was the calm before the storm type of thing. Not that we knew that really at the time, but like I like this notion that it kind of softened Bolo up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a treasure hunter, and yet he sort of lives for these moments of like sharing and talking about food and travel and and stuff like this. And so I like this idea that set him up to be maybe more open than he should be
Mm-hmm.
in kind of situation.
Yep.
And it was like a glimpse of the old Bolo, you know what I mean? But he didn't take it as far as he might have, say, when he first joined the party, kind of thing. So he kind of did pull back. So he's just like the idea of kind of toying with his arc, over the adventures that he's had so far. So it was fun playing that, and the intrigue was really cool, and kind of a nice precursor to moving on. Hopefully, if we can get past these dastardly dwarves.
That's right. If we do not TPK inside a meat hole.
Yeah.
That's
So
a good way
you
to
can
go,
find me-
though. Let's not fool ourselves.
It like
If I
having
die,
a
I wanna
TPK in a
die
meat
in a
hall
meat
is
hall.
better. Yeah.
The horrible thing, right, is like also just it took me way longer than it should have to register total party kill because TPK made me think toilet paper kettle. I don't know.
That would be the
was very-
worst.
That
The
would
Wait,
not
why don't we
hold
just
water
like
at all.
TP this meat hall and then see what happens from there?
We're
right?
gonna TP this meat hall.
Yeah. No, the thing that's so infuriating about this is that it sure would be helpful to us to have a bunch of dwarves go up against a dragon. Like, wouldn't it be great? if they just did that instead of us needing to like brutalize them or knock them out or anything. Oh well, what
Well,
jerks. So anyway,
I'm thinking that if we make it past this, then we're gonna find Greystroke and Scaphira like just lying dead on the way to the dragon, and then we will be the last party standing, and we'll be forced to face them alone. We will have no.
And the dragon's
no
like, good.
Oh, I don't like it.
Anyway, yeah, good
I
stuff.
think we should just tie up all of these dwarves and lead them in like a little line behind us as bait for the dragon. And
Wow.
Just be like, here you go.
Dark River comes out.
I was going to say Dark River.
Listen, she takes hospitality really seriously.
Yep,
This is not okay.
No, it's true.
Anyway.
You do not invite people to a hall and attack them.
There wasn't even a wedding to make this like anyway.
Exactly. Where will folks see you next?
Red Meat Hall. Yeah, you can find me at quillings.com, which has the links to my social networks and books if you'd like to buy some autographed books. And otherwise, I'll be back here in a few weeks.
Good stuff. Thank you, Brad. And last but certainly not least, Tren, Tani, I love the idea of the sort of the seasoning the pig while also dropping some carefully placed statements and kind of looking around. And Tani was like, Ingo's hanging out with Bolo. Bolo's hanging out with the dwarves. The River's talking to Scarf. So in a way, Tani was kind of the person who is sort of, trying to cover various angles and be like, all of this is none of this is good. Like, it's just sort of like, all of you stop, like a herding shit, like a border collie, just being like, everybody stop, and trying to figure out yourself where the danger is coming from, which is still not 100% clear. Like, even if it's true that the dwarves are at risk, how much is anybody else at risk? You don't know. But that was interesting to me, and I'm curious to see how that's going to get played out over the course of time in terms of what Tani sees and doesn't see, and maybe your prominent position next to the pig may help with something. We'll find out. How did you feel about today's session, and where will the fine folks find you next?
Much like Brad, I love the is dichotomy the right word?
Contrast.
Yeah, we'll go with contrast. Sure, that's much better. Between the last one and this one, it's like watching just the pendulum swing. Although that's more of a metronome. Pendulum would be the other way. But still, it's just okay. Sorry, I didn't know I was boring you, Amal. Whatever. And it was, but yeah, when we got there and we could hear laughter in the meet and in the hall, and then we got in there and they were clearly reveling, and I'm like, wait a minute, we were told this guy was kind of a sourpuss. What's going on?
Yep.
So automatically I'm like, wait a minute, this is not what was described to us at all. And knowing what we know or what we've been told about the dwarves, it's like, this is not right. So, we came into it already on guard. And,
information which, by the way, you did not necessarily need to have. It depended on how things went earlier, or you wouldn't have known any of that. So just to point out. Yeah.
And so, it was just fantastic. And when we got to the point where, we reached the end of the River's song, and there was that silence, and again, it seems fitting since it's Tim Curry's birthday today. My first thought was in Rocky Horror Picture Show at the end of the time warp when Brad is like, "Say, does anybody know how to Madison?" And I was just like, "Don't say that! Don't say that!" But just good stuff today. I really liked it.
And where will they find you here on the internets or in audio?
I guess that could be, kind of an important thing. So I will put the link to my most recent audiobook into the chat now, and you will see it come up in the chat. There it is. Well, for us, there it is. But, for those who are watching the video, it's going to take a second. Yes. There it is. So anyway, there's that. And I'm starting a new one called Icons of War. Another one of the several BattleTech audiobooks that I'm working on. After this, Children of Kerensky, and then Hour of the Wolf, I believe. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And where else will people see me back here? Yes, indeed, for some Eberron
action. Yeah. Yes, which is going to be Eberron is also
that's
ramping
first,
up too. Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. And then yes, more of that as well. Before I let you folks go though, so
I
Little
wanna
Arv has
do a
been over
thing.
here. What? Yes. Sorry.
Yes,
Go ahead. Sorry.
because like I remembered like the perfect quote from the Havamal for today, if I may. For people who don't know what the Havamal is, it's like a list of proverbs from the Edda.
Okay. And the
Stanza
proverb
7.
is? Okay.
The watchful guest, when he arrives for a meal, should keep his mouth shut, listening with his ears and watching with his eyes. That's how the wise get wiser.
Nice. Yeah,
Yes.
well, it's a good thing you all sort of more or less did that. That's good stuff. So
Translation by Jackson Crawford.
that's cool. Yeah, no, that's really cool. So Little Arv has been working on illustration while time goes on, so I should let you describe this. All right, so go ahead and
Get close to the microphone.
Can you like do the camera bigger so we can actually see properly?
Yeah, because I want to get your reactions though. So we'll start with.
Oh, okay.
That's trending. I tried.
Aw.
Okay.
Hey, that's me eating bread.
Yes.
Aww.
I got my hat. My
Amazing.
flower.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I love that.
I just drew each of you.
Oh, excellent.
City forgot to roll high again.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Very on point.
And then,
What is
My
Brad
character's
saying?
drunk.
yeah, my character is
Yeah, my
drunk.
character's drunk.
Oh,
Nice.
Oh, can you scan these, please? And
I
then
love
send
them.
to us, please?
That's
This is
very
adorable.
cool.
I love
And
that.
yes, I'm sure that I can scan them and
Yes.
send them off. So my child, who is in a have I mentioned that my child is in a arts program now?
You have a
in the
child?
fall.
You never
yeah,
mentioned
did I mention that? She's pretty great and is art, and is going to be working on multiple. Yeah, I just so.
Thank you so much, Sen.
Yeah.
that's super lovely.
That's lovely.
You're welcome.
See, this is what you get. She's on break. She listens, and then and she watches. She kept saying to me, like, "Can you put the Zoom back up?" Because I was at all these different windows. She's like,
What's their hair? It's mostly your hair. I kept just being like, for balls. I was like, I can't see. It's all one blob of hair.
Yeah,
So I
because
tried-
of I don't even know, just the way that the light is here. It is
Yeah.
like here's a top knot, and then here is. Although it might be easier to draw if I did the thing where I let it down, and then you can see how much of. I'm not saying you should do this.
That's a complete different haircut from what I thought you had. So that.
Yeah, it's very different from what's on the stream.
"Oh,
Oh, I thought you had a haircut where it was shaved on the side and then curly on top.
Oh.
I would love that.
That would look
That would
pretty
be
cool.
so great. That would be like a super queer
I thought it
haircut,
was
but
like,
no.
It was like curly on the top and then shaved on the sides. I'm like, I got it. I can draw that. I did not know that's what it was.
No, it's all good. Though I love that artistic representation of myself. And like genuinely my hair is so long right now, I can't even take selfies with it anymore. Like the selfie angle on my
With all
phone
of it.
just will not contain the length of my extremely long hair. So
Do not get a selfie stick. Don't. They're just
No.
awful.
yeah, no,
no,
you don't. Yeah,
I'll just
no.
cut my hair.
Or get somebody else to take the photo. That way you have friends.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm gonna let you folks go because I got to get ready for my other stream. I will
Oh, you have
see these
streams?
folks for. I know more
Other than
multiple
us?
one. Other than
You're
you.
seeing other streams?
I
Learning
listen.
all kinds of things about ARP today.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But I enjoyed this thoroughly. Wonderful work from the party. Can I get some love chat for the wonderful players? Great work as always out of Trendane Sparks, out of Brad Bollier, out of Tari Tunes, and out of Amal Elmatar. Thank you, everybody. Much love, and I will see you folks for 2 sessions, including our big ArvCon session next time. So we'll see if you fight your way out of a mead hall, but that'll all happen next month. Thanks, everybody. Much love. Bye for
Bye.
now, players.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay. So that, folks, is going to do it for us on this channel, but not overall, because in about 25 minutes, I'm going to be over on GogCom's Twitch channel for some Talisman Adventures, sponsored as always by Pegasus Spiele. So you will definitely want to make sure you are there for that. That is also ramping up that campaign, and it's going to be exciting. You will definitely want to be there for more things, to kind of stop by and check things out. So yes, please make sure you do that. Also, we are up to 957 subscribers now on the YouTube channel. We have only 43 left to go. So thank you again so much to Garlic Tofu, who has really spearheaded this drive over the last week or so, and really has, put herself out there and has really made this kind of a cause célèbre for her. And I'm very grateful. So thank you so much, Garlic. Thank you so much to all of you who followed. Thanks to all the new folks who stopped in today, by the way. We had new folks who came in and followed, and I hope you liked what you saw and heard. I can't take it right now, but just put it on the printer. And so if you like what you saw and heard, I hope you will consider following our channel. I hope you will consider checking out that YouTube, !ArvTube will get you over there. It is free to follow over there, to subscribe over on that channel, but it really does help us out, so please do that. You can get all past broadcasts of this and many other streams, and please spread the word about the show. Thank you, by the way, to everybody who tweeted about this today. That is very much appreciated. !ArvCord is my Discord channel where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams, and !ArvTweets is my Twitter. You can follow me over on my Twitter, where I will always post about stuff when I'm going live, about personal stuff, professional stuff, and all that kind of good stuff. So please do that with !ArvTweets. Website is arvaneleron.com. Financially, !ArvShop is the merchandise area. You can get Adventures in Middle-earth and other stuff. Yes, thank you. I will talk about that in just a minute. Thank you for the reminder, Garlic. Arv shop for that merchandise area. Arvtreon is that Patreon. You can get cool stuff for yourself individually, including a copy of one of my band's albums. You can get a professional character background written for you, an epic poem written about you, and all that kind of good stuff if you support over there. And the channel will move towards various goals. Plus, you can get inspirations to help our players as well. Arvtreon for that. You can also sub to the channel, which will let you get those custom sub badges and emotes and inspirations to help our players. And if you haven't already done so, you can also support us on the publishing side. Icarus for my Icarus graphic novel from the amazing Athos Arts. Library for my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. My 5e adventure and sourcebook from the amazing Alligator Alley Entertainment. And both Alligator Alley and Athos Arts are working together on my Greyshade Kickstarter, Greyshade KS. That is going to be launching on Tuesday, May 31st, is when the publication of Greyshade will happen. That's also when the backer kit for the preview page for the backer kit for Kickstarter will go live. That Kickstarter, which will launch 2 weeks after that point in mid-June, will cover Renegade and Heretic, the next 2 books in my Grey Assassin trilogy series. It will also cover the tabletop role-playing game and an audiobook from one Mr. Trendane Sparks, plus other things that are going to be happening soon, so you'll definitely want to be here for that. And of course, Greyshade KS for that. Last but certainly not least, I want to mention BLM, Black Lives Matter. Very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. I think that means you're leaving. I love you, sweetheart. Or
Do you want?
yes, leave it just somewhere where I can scan it. Yeah, honey. And if not, we'll do it this evening. BLM, Black Lives Matter. Help Now is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when you need help and to reach out to others when they need help as well. And Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the Ukrainian people as they fight back against an autocratic and illegitimate attack against their sovereignty and their reason. Thank you, my love, so much. Say goodbye to little Arv, everyone. So that's the deal with that. And the last thing I want to mention, as Garlic Tofu has brought up, is that coming next Tuesday, we will have the cover and title and table of contents reveal for our Origins anthology, the anthology for the Origins Game Convention, the Origins Authors Track, which I co-coordinate with Aaron Rosenberg. The author track is called the Authors Alcove, and the Authors Alcove is putting out, as it does every year, an Origins anthology. I have contributed a story to this. Garlic Tofu has contributed a story to this. Those are 2 that I think I can safely reveal right off the bat because I am invested with them. But you'll find out the rest of the table of contents, and you will find out as well the title for this anthology and the cover. That'll be happening next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, you'll want to be here as we do the cover and title reveal. That is going to be good times. That's happening next Tuesday. Oh, also, as I'm saying goodbye to everybody, I do want to mention this too, which is please get your votes in right now, because in about 2 minutes, I'm going to be closing this up. Right now, we have these votes for the game that I'm going to be playing next week. So we have Psychonauts, we have Growlancer 2, and Earthworms. Get your vote in now because I'm going to be closing this down in just about 2 minutes or so. That is was nominated last week, final vote this week, and then I'm going to be playing it next week. So make sure you know about that as well. Hey, what's up, Miss Terma? Good to see you, man. Yes, the table of contents will contain the content of the people writing in the contents. I hope that made sense to you because it doesn't make any sense to me what I just said. Anyway, good to see you, Terma. So yes, that's what's happening. You'll definitely want to be around for that. That'll be happening next week. I'm going to be rising up out of here now in about 20 minutes. I'm going to be over on GogCom's Twitch channel for Pen and Pixels and Talisman Adventures. I want to thank everybody. Oh, well, thank you, Garlic, and your story as well. But I want to thank everybody. You had to click through. Yes. And Little Arv was here and did this awesome drawing, and it was really cool. In fact, it was this drawing that Little Arv did of the 4 people that were involved. So it was very, very cool. So I want to thank everyone who made this an awesome stream today. Genuinely, it was a really fun stream. Thanks to chat as well. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Rudnell, Dragonspear, and Triffity Mats. Thank you as best in the business, as I've always said. Thank you, and Hilness was here earlier. Thank you as well. I know, as Terma, she's going into high school in the fall. Can you believe that? Going into high school. It's just crazy talk. Thank you to my wonderful subscribers and Patreon supporters. Arudnell, Dragonspear, Triffity Mats, Effect Life, Big Boss, Crit Twitch, Arenth, Garlic, Live Suing, Mrs. Dunsel, Peripheral Mike, Red Lear, Trendane, and Uncle Elias. I know, man. I know, right? Arvette. That might happen at some point. It might happen. She'll always be my, I know, right, Arudnell? She'll always be my little Arv, honestly. She's such a great kid. Thank you to my wonderful viewers as well. Thank you to Action Chin, to Amal Matar. Thank you to Black Fury, to Bubba, God's Whip. Thank you to Gold Public, Is Terma as always. Thank you to It's the Fritz, Little Rory Sarasasa. Thank you to Nargalash Nonstop. Thank you to OT Rumsey. Thank you to Orthodox. Thank you to Seal US and Tommy Shisaka. Thank you, everyone, for being awesome. And again, one last time, please do sub to my YouTube channel. We have only 43 subs to go before it is before we hit that 1,000 subscriber thing, which will allow me to monetize the channel, which will make all of these other awesome things happen. So please do that because that will really definitely make a big difference to us. And last but certainly not least, there was something I was going to do, which was to check out this to make sure that we have 957. Yes, I knew about that. Which was, oh yes, the next game. So the next game, welcome everybody. And so here we go, going once, going twice. And the winner is, in a close vote, but it does pull it out, Psychonauts. So I will be playing Psychonauts next Tuesday. So I'll be playing Psychonauts next Tuesday. Thank you for having voted and being a part of this. And yeah, I will look forward to playing that and picking that up, but not right now. Right now, I got to get over to that. So thank you. I don't know if it was Big Boss that nominated Psychonauts, but Psychonauts is the winner, or if it was Dragonspear. I don't remember who it was, but you won. Victory. Psychonauts will be what I play next Tuesday. That's going to do it for me. Much love to all of you wonderful people. You are the best. I'll see you over on GogCom's Twitch channel in just about 15 minutes. Until then, as always, everyone, please be good to each other and have a good night.